Good morning. I'll be calling the Board of Supervisors meeting to order for June 28th. Please join Supervisor Carson in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Supervisor Carson. Looking for approval of the minutes for the regular meeting of May 24th, the special meeting of Thursday, June 9th, and the regular meeting of June 14th.
So moved.
Moved by Vice President Chan, seconded by Supervisor Valier. Is there any objection to motion? Motion passes 4 ayes, 1 excused. Supervisor Miley, we will now go to closed session. Thank you. Thank you. First item of business will be the consent calendar.
Move consent calendar.
Hold on, let me see if I have speakers on consent. Do you have a speaker on?
Also on the consent calendar, could you pull item 78 out for a separate vote, please?
Item what?
Item 78 on the consent calendar should be pulled out for a separate vote.
Why?
I have to recuse myself.
Then go.
I have to recuse.
Go.
I have to announce on the record.
Go ahead.
Item 78, I need to recuse myself as president of the United Seniors, just for caution. It's no monetary conflict, because I don't get paid by the United Seniors, but as president, I always like to recuse myself on items that benefit the United Seniors.
Thank you. With that, can I get a motion on item 78?
Move item 78.
Motion by Valier, seconded by Vice President Chan on item 78. Is there any objection to the motion? Motion passes 4 ayes, 1 abstention. Supervisor Miley, can somebody please grab Supervisor Miley?
And for the record, it's 1 recusal.
1 refusal. What did I say, abstention? I don't know what I said. All right. Somebody get Supervisor Miley.
Ask Nate to come back.
Okay, I have the consent calendar before us, item 64 through item 100. I have a speaker on item 5, and I'm having a hard time reading your name. I think your last name is Justice. Speaker on item 85. Pardon me? I can't hear you. Okay, come on down. You're up.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm here to object to consideration of that item 85. Thank you. And there needs to be some corrections to that item before anything is issued regarding that. The reasons why: there has been a report that was not corrected, and I will move for a later date to make that correction so we can all be in sync with what has transpired on that property. there may be other situations that may be other properties that may be issued, recommended by the clerk, but this one particular property at 1701 62nd Street in Berkeley needs to be corrected. But not to say there's other issues that may proceed for the clerk's approval. But at this time, this particular one will be divested from the board. Thank you very much, and I will move at a later date to show what corrections that need to be made. Thank you for recognizing me, Chair.
So you haven't really said anything, do we have somebody here that can help us through this?
Well, the comment that I would make to your board is that based on the presentation that's been made, insufficient evidence has been shared to justify that anything other than the recommended action be taken by your board. The fact that Mr. Justice appears to be saying at some later date he will present some unspecified information would not be a basis, well, it's not a required basis for you to refrain from acting on this matter. As you just indicated, he's not shared any substantive information regarding the impropriety of moving forward on this matter.
Well, in reply to that comment, Chair, we need to come to a point of order on this issue. And the reasons why is there's been a clear mistake on this property. So this is not a court issue. This is a county supervisor issue, and it needs to be clarified on what actually took place from these two entities that I've already submitted to all members. And at this time, I can present this at a later date for the clarified corrections that need to be made.
Well, Mr. Justice, the item is on the agenda for today. Do you have
Okay.
Supervisor Carson?
I know you.
Yes, that is correct. Can you speak up a little louder so I can clearly hear you?
Can we please not do that?
Is the mic on now? Okay, thanks. Okay. So, Mr. Justice, I know you've been before this body several times. And I know you've also submitted documentation, at least our office has received documentation from you over the last couple of years. Do you have something that's new that that you have in your possession today that would lend some kind of different conclusion than the materials you've provided us before? And do you have it today with you?
Well, at this point, whether it be here or later, based on a more later date on the parliamentary rule, that may be presented at a later time. And there's more needs to be done. So based on my information that I've received, more time is needed, and it won't be long because we need to clarify this issue. And the claims that may be issued may not be the claims that have been presented correctly. So therefore, we need more time, which is not a problem. And even if it's a collector's issue, it's still not a problem. And it could be rectified at a later date. And any considerations that will be taken by this board today is being objected to, because this needs to happen before this organization. And which I may move for a later time to make these corrections that I have discovered. And I have to bring it to the board's attention. And any prior decisions that were made, we're going to have to retract back to those decisions.
So can I ask one more question? Mr. Chair, can I ask one more question? Yeah, what are the options here, council?
There's two on one.
Your board always has the option of not taking an action on an item. You have the option of continuing to act on the item.
So has your office received information from Mr. Justice over the last, I don't know, when did you start on this, Calvin?
The date that the proposed notice was issued to the board.
I know originally, what was the date?
What was the date?
What was the original date that you started on this? Because it's been more than a year, right?
It has been.
There was other situations that have been.
So the one you're talking about today, you've sent information regarding that piece of property to a number of us. Did you send any of that information to council?
Well, at this point, that information is not needed for council's.
No, I mean, I'm asking in the original document. Did you send any of that to council? To our county council?
Okay, in reference to your question, that is not needed. It's only to the organization and the assembly before us today.
Okay.
And any considerations of that is being objected to because the report is flawed. And based on the report being flawed by the other entities that presented to the board in 2013, it's flawed. So therefore, we need to have this matter considered, which is the parliamentary procedure to do. And at a point of order, we need to do this because this needs to be cleared up. And it's only the right thing to do. And those are the bylaws we stand for.
I'm looking at the properties, I believe, on attachment B. Does Mr. Justice have standing on any one of these three properties?
Well, standing, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if Mr. Justice has standing. I do, but what I do know is that this matter is not ripe for, I mean, he's not following a formalized process that is established. I mean, as a citizen, he has the right to speak at this meeting and raise, issues that he believes are relevant to the item before you. But the matter before you is ripe for consideration.
After the action today, is there an appeal process?
No. Like any other actions, he may be able to take a writ to the Superior Court if he believes that your board has acted improperly.
So there is an appeal process. Doesn't stop here.
He may have the right to proceed by writ. But as Supervisor Carson indicated, again, because he hasn't said today, I have no idea what the scope of claims and issues he is referring to are. Whether those issues are items that can properly be brought by writ, I don't know, because I don't know what he's talking about. But with respect to the issues that he's presented before, the matters that he's presented in the past, over the past 2 years, have been looked at, and notwithstanding the arguments that he's made or the materials that he's submitted, it has been determined that these matters are ripe for your board to take the action that's before you today.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to move for objection of what she stated in terms of.
We're not a court of law.
I understand that, but I can still move for objection of what she's reporting to you.
Okay, thank you.
And we understand that this is not a court of law, and this is in the hands of this organization that needs to be rectified. So for you to go back and continue to present this to county council is inappropriate. I'm moving for objection of consideration on the item, which is 85.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, I'm looking for a motion on consent calendar, keeping in mind that we have already voted on item 78.
So moved.
Motion by Valier. Seconded by Chan. Any objection to the motion? Motion passes 5 ayes. Thank you. All right, I have been asked to take public comment ahead, which I will do. But we do have a very large calendar with a lot of speakers today, so I'm going to limit the public comment to 2 minutes. And I think the quickest way to get the public comment done would just be to ask you all to line up and go ahead and state your name, and I'll just go ahead and pull your cards out, as opposed to me just go ahead and announcing your name. So go ahead and line up for public comment, and I'll pull your cards out when you state your name. Yeah? No, this is just public comment. People who signed up for public comment.
And so that's to clarify, that's for items that are not on the agenda.
Yeah. Come on, let's go. Michael Lee?
Yes.
All right. No, we can do this quietly. Thank you. Let's go.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Michael Lee. I'm a constituent of Alameda County District 3. Honorable President Haggerty, honorable members of the board. I'm standing in front of you today as a witness to many inconsistencies regarding the 2016 presidential primary election. I'm here with some of my peers and fellow voters and citizens of Alameda County. On April 26, 2016, I checked my voter registration status on AC.gov's site. My voter status was changed without my knowledge on 10/21/2015 to an address in Berkeley, California. Had I not checked, I would have been without a ballot. I filed a complaint with the Secretary of State, but have not been updated with an explanation. In mid-May 2016, I decided to sign up to be a poll worker. On May 25, 2016, I attended an in-person training to be a poll worker, and I attempted and passed the 3 modules on the online training. June 7, 2016 was a long day that lasted between 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. in Emeryville, California, at a polling location numbered 380700. Inspector Smith, Judge Chun, along with Clerk Dixon, Clerk Chen, and myself were the poll workers. I witnessed many inconsistencies, lack of procedural knowledge, non-compliance to the rules stated in the ROV guidebook, and negligent distribution of incorrect ballots to voters. Besides poll worker failures, I witnessed upset voters without their knowledge, had their party affiliation changed, individuals who never received their mail-in ballots in the mail, voter confusion layered with confusion by my fellow poll workers. Voters voiced their frustrations with not being able to vote for the presidential candidate of choice because they received the wrong ballot from the poll workers. To respect your time, I will abbreviate my testimony by saying that there was much more that I witnessed that made me sad, angry, frustrated, and appalled. On June 13, 2016, I met with ROV Dupuis, elections tech Jeff Normart, among others. I voiced my concerns regarding my voter registration status change and the June 7th inconsistencies to Mr. Normart, while I observed the provisional ballot counting. The observation of the ballot counting and remake was very educational. However, I was unable to observe any details as we were stanchioned off at a distance without the ability to interact or take notes. I thank the board for your time, and I hope that the testimonials will play an important role in resolving voter concerns, poll worker concerns, and ballot counting observer concerns.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Patricia Jokey. First off, thank you very much for going ahead and allowing us to speak at the beginning of the meeting. So I live in Pleasanton, California, and I'm here today to share with you the experience I had while observing ballots being counted during the recent June primary. My experience was this. On Sunday, June 12th, I observed the ballot scanning process at the Registrar of Voters location. Tim Dupree, Registrar of Voters, and Jeff Normart met me and answered questions I had, and we spoke at the transparency in the election process before I was escorted to the observation area. I was not allowed to take notes, pictures, or use a cell phone while in the observation area. Once there, I saw people located behind a glass wall loading ballots into optical scanners. I started to walk towards the empty tables and chairs situated in front of the glass wall to sit and observe when I was told by Jeff that I had to stay within a roped-off area, which was off to the side of the tables about 15 feet away from the glass wall. I was perplexed as to why I couldn't sit in a chair in front of the glass tables when their observer rules said, quote, if the observers exceed the number of seats, an observation schedule may be implemented, unquote. However, I didn't ask why I couldn't sit. For a little over the next hour, I had to stand or lean against a wall. I asked Jeff a number of questions to understand the process. When we were not talking, Jeff was typing on his phone. During the entire time, I felt uncomfortable, unwelcome, and intimidated. I didn't feel this process was transparent, as Mr. Dupree had indicated, just the opposite. It left me with the feeling of, what are they trying to hide? I understand the election official has the discretion to determine the distance between observers in the process. However, what I don't understand is what makes Alameda County unique from other counties who allow observers to interact with the ballot processors and view election processes up close. I also wonder why there is a policy of not allowing note-taking when we're observing the polls, when we're observing the process as is permitted by other jurisdictions. I came here today to speak because I'm concerned with the vote counting process and the unwelcome atmosphere the Register of Voters employs to limit observers' right to be included in this process. Because this lack of transparency, there needs to be assurance that all ballots are counted, and if they're not, why not? Additionally, if it was the intent of the voters to go and vote for one candidate, that vote should be counted to that candidate, even if it was the wrong ballot that was used or the voter marked a candidate also wrote in the candidate's name.
All right, your time's up.
One last thing, real quick.
Okay, real quick.
Okay, what I would like to do is to ask the Board of Supervisors to direct staff and the Registrar of Voters to address our concerns and that all the votes be counted before they're certified by the state, and that there is a true measurable transparency between observers and the Registrar of Voters office. Thank you very much.
My name is Michael Reeder. I was a poll worker in Contra Costa County, but I'd like to attest to what's apparently going on all over the state. Many voters, if not half of the voters that came in to vote, lots of them with papers they got in the mail with their names, precinct numbers, and addresses and party affiliations, were not on either roster that we had. And many vote-by-mail voters said they never received ballots in the mail, and we had to give them provisional ballots. And one voter came in to find out she was AIP party affiliation, which she had never heard of, said she never registered with, said she was a Democrat, had voted in the last election down the street just fine. And we were trained at the training for the elections not to inform voters that NPP ballots, nonpartisan ballots, don't have a section to vote for president in the primary. We ended up telling voters that and asking them if they wanted a crossover Democratic ballot or an NPP ballot. No voter wanted an NPP ballot, not one. I heard we gave out one all day while I wasn't there. And yes, just want to clarify that.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mari Solomeskis, and I wanted to share my experience as a poll worker. This was my first time working at the polls, but most of my team had worked at the polls before. They were also shocked by the amount of provisional ballots we were handing out. Some people came to the wrong precinct and didn't want to go to the correct one to vote normally, but way too many people were not listed on our street roster or the county-wide roster based on their address. Also, way too many people that were listed as vote by mail said they never registered that way and did not receive a ballot in the mail, and so could not surrender it to vote normally. I believe only one no party preference voter decided to vote no party preference ballot. All others chose party ballots because they wanted to vote for presidential candidates. I heard from our supervisor that other precincts had given NPP voters the Democratic or Republican ballots in error. These should still be counted. It is not the fault of the voter, but the poll workers. Despite having seasoned poll workers, it was still hard to remember all of the rules involved with opening the polls, marking the voter index. You have to decide who signs and who doesn't, and closing the polls. Our inspector and judge were not told to go to the clerk training and found that the clerks often knew more about the new rules than they did. I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning to get to the polling place on time and did not get home until 10:30 at night. Despite breaks, these hours make it hard for poll workers to work efficiently. Also, the training was one session for, I believe, 3 to 4 hours. There should be more information given, actual hands-on training, and it should be broken up into 2 to 3 sessions. They should also be closer to Election Day. I believe my training was 2 to 3 months in advance. The manual is also 150 plus pages long, is not in chronological order, and many of the images were hard to make out even for a 20-something-year-old like me. I am planning on working the polls again, probably for the rest of my life. Please make appropriate changes to make our job easier.
Thank you.
Good morning, President Board Haggerty. Thank you for your leadership in managing such a complicated agenda. And I want to acknowledge Supervisor Keith Carson for stepping out early on in the debate to ban coal from Oakland Army Base. And last night it was a unanimous vote of the Oakland City Council to ban coal from the Oakland Army Base. Can we put our hands together for that? Thank you for your leadership on that, Supervisor Carson. I'm Pastor Chambers from the Westside Missionary Baptist Church. I pastor and live also in Supervisor Carson's district. And you can, Supervisor Hager, you can take my name off item number 21.1 and 21.2, as well as 63.1 and 63.2. And let me save some time of your meeting. Let me address it right now. It is imperative, because of jobs and the need for jobs for folks in Alameda County, that the item 21.1, 21.2, we support that. Supervisor Valle, we thank you for your leadership, along with Supervisor Carson, Supervisor Wilma Chan, Supervisor Nate Miley, as well as the President of the Board of Supervisors. It is imperative to 1,400 inmates due to Proposition 47 that has reduced those sentences coming out, get a job and a job opportunity with job training. So we're asking that Board of Supervisors, we really make that happen. Not only would that help in lieu of the crisis that Oakland is facing and Alameda County as well, but when you combine that with 63.1 and 63.2, the housing bond, which is a need, and we thank you, Nehemiah, for your leadership on helping to move that forward. It's very much necessary. Housing and a job. Those are two things, and clean air to breathe in Alameda County. Last but not least, September 29th, 7:30 p.m., we're establishing and launching a East Bay Interfaith Council, and we would like for you all to participate as we stretch from Fremont to Richmond, looking at common issues that bring our communities together. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend.
Hello, my name is Travis Rios. I work the polls at precinct 207000. Summary of problems on that day: inadequate funding, hourly wage $6.60 to $7.15 an hour under California minimum wage, under federal minimum wage, results in poor quality of work. Inadequate training, recruitment of people who are not capable or qualified for the job, probably because they're desperate for workers, incredibly low wage. Dozens of people came in who received no mail-in ballot, even though they signed up before May 31st. That's a problem. My experience on June 7th was as follows. 3 out of 5 people in my precinct were not capable of fulfilling the requirements of the job. Judge was not awake most of the day. I had to wake him every time somebody stepped in the door. I'm not joking. At the end of the night, I ended up doing most of his tasks because he was unable to complete them. I was the clerk, not the judge. One clerk was an elderly man who was barely aware of his surroundings. Another woman frequently made errors and had trouble following basic instructions and charts in the manual. I personally made errors as well. I made a major mistake at the end of the night. I cut the wrong seal on the voting scanner machine. I then mistakenly put another wrong seal on the machine. I had to break it again, put another seal of the wrong color because we ran out of seals. The zip tie seal for the memory cartridge of the machine did not fit correctly, so we used the wrong seal on it as well. My seal verification form was filled with scribbled, crossed out numbers and incorrectly broken seals. For my huge rookie mistakes, there was no follow-up of any kind or investigation. No one talked to me about why my form was so messy and inconsistent. This indicates to me that if someone wanted to tamper with the memory cartridge of the scanner or any other parts of the scanner, anyone could do so by creating a series of mistakes that could probably be overlooked anyways. Exploiting the general unawareness and incompetence of many poll workers would also be another strategy. The machines and voting sites are not secure because protocol can easily be broken with no consequence or investigation, which is disturbing. Please consider my words here. Fix our election system here by providing adequate or more than adequate funding for their operations, enforcing stricter quality controls, and overhauling recruitment and training. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Amy Chavnik. I live in San Leandro. I'm also a public servant of a sort because I'm a community college teacher. I was involved in voter registration at Chabot Community College and at Cal State East Bay. I also had the opportunity to observe the ballot counting of the provisional ballots, and you may not be familiar with the statistics, but you should know that close to 10% of the ballots this year were provisional. That seems high to me. Anyway, in observing the provisional ballot counting, and I also observed the 1% tally, I noticed that there were many, many ballots put in what are these red bins, which required further investigation. And I want to know which ballots were not counted and why. And when I asked that question, when I was observing, I was not given a satisfactory answer. You should know that several of us have put together letters pursuant to our rights under the California Public Records Act to ask for this information as well as others. I'd like to submit this to you if you haven't seen it already so that you may have a copy of it. There seems to be a lot of information out there on the website in terms of the ballots that were cast, the votes, the percentages, but nowhere on there does it say how many ballots were not counted and why. And that's what I want to know.
Hi, good morning. My name is Raisa Donato. I was a judge at precinct 520220 in Pleasanton. My general concern is the lack of education and I believe training for some of the clerks, because what I witnessed was a travesty. I had a clerk who was yelling out people's party preference, and I believe that's incorrect. I felt like my supervisor, he was kind of all over the place. He wasn't really paying attention, or didn't really feel like he was going according to the rules. And one of our other clerks was definitely not qualified to be a clerk. She couldn't really do much except for look for the ballots, and I was generally concerned that she was giving the right ballots to the people. We were also down one clerk, so I had to double as a clerk as well. So please, if there's anything you guys can do to help us with the election process, because this could potentially be a disaster for future elections. So please, if there's anything we can do, find out if we can properly fund the election process. That would be a big help to the general public. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Sarah Sato, and I live in Berkeley. I just wanted to relate my family's experience with voter registration. On February 24th, 2016, my 18-year-old son registered to vote at the Claremont Avenue DMV. My husband was with him and made sure that he filled out the form completely, and he turned it in there at the DMV. And my son was thrilled to be voting for the very first time. When he went to our family's polling place, he was told by a poll worker that he was not on the register, and he was given a provisional ballot. The next day I called the DMV, and they said there was no paper trail, but that the voter registrations were sent to the Alameda County Registrar of Voters daily. I called the Registrar of Voters office, and they told me that they never received my son's registration, but that he could register for the November election. And my son was absolutely devastated. He was totally heartbroken. And he doesn't know whether to attribute this to negligence on the part of the DMV or the registrar's office, or if it was malfeasance. In any case, this is not acceptable. An 18-year-old should be able to trust in our electoral process. Also, my husband and I checked our registrations on the Secretary of State's website a few months before the election, and we found that we weren't registered to vote, even though we had been voting since 1980 in every single election. And we called the Registrar of Voters and were told that because of maybe a software glitch or something, that people who lived in apartments were for some reason coming up as not registered. And so then I was registered. They made me registered, but I don't know how many people were disenfranchised because of this glitch.
Hello, my name is Dr. Sally Greenberg, and I am a PhD statistician. I did some phone banking prior to the election, including the night before the election, and was absolutely appalled at the number of people who were NPP voters who didn't know how to go about voting for on the Democratic presidential race. So I am not shocked to see that 39% of NPP registered voters didn't vote Democratic, didn't vote at all for presidential candidates. And but I think if somebody who's going to all the trouble to vote, I would expect to want to vote for president if they could. So it just is it's not right. And then so I took being a statistician by training, I took a look at some statistics, and the way that the NPP voters are handled is not conducive to people voting, and I mean, obviously people who know to ask for things can get it, but we should be making the voting process as friendly as possible. It turns out that of the NPP voters who voted people registered NPP who voted by mail, only 46% voted for a presidential candidate. Of those who voted on election day, 88% voted. So that just shows that they didn't know to ask for the ballot, because there's no reason to believe these two groups are different. I'm also was shocked to learn that 42,000 votes were provisional. And that's over 10% of the process, and for over 10% of the people to have a problem on election day just seems extraordinarily high to me. And I would like to see what happened to those 42,000 ballots. How many of them actually ended up getting used? How many of them were discarded? And what reasons were they discarded? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Phoebe Sorgan, June 7 poll inspector at Berkeley Precinct 209-310. For previous elections, poll workers at the end of the day were required to calculate and report the number of provisional ballots issued. Without that number for this election, there's no way to verify that all qualified provisional ballots will be counted. There were unprecedented numbers of no party preference voters this time and of provisional ballots. I believe there were also unprecedented numbers of election irregularities. The majority of provisional ballots in my precinct were no party preference vote by mail voters who had not received a ballot with a choice for president. I estimate that there were almost as many votes like that as there were ballots cast and scanned. Provisional ballots were also issued for people who arrived at my precinct and learned that, unbeknownst to them, their registration had been changed to vote by mail, though they had never received a ballot, or they were no longer on the voter roster at all after having voted for decades, or they had been lifelong Democrats but learned that their registration had been mysteriously changed to Libertarian or Peace and Freedom Party. So their only option, if they wanted to vote for president, was to vote provisionally. Voters were very upset, understandably. There are unprecedented numbers of first-time voters in this election. Some of them accidentally registered for the American Independent Party when they wanted to be independents, also known as no party preference. Disenfranchisement of voters like this has occurred at least in 10 states. Got democracy? This is not acceptable.
Hi, my name is Joanna Harmon. I'm from Berkeley, and I have two concerns. One is, my concern is that voter intent be respected in Alameda County, that NPB voters who received the wrong ballots from poll workers be counted. If they received a Democratic ballot instead of a Democratic crossover ballot, they should be counted. Number two, transparency. I want to know which ballots were not counted. I want to know the number of provisional ballots that were counted and uncounted. So voter intent and transparency. I have filed a formal request for that information from the registrar. I want to read testimony of a poll worker. I have been a poll worker clerk at precinct 224000 in the Glenview district of Oakland. We provided NPP registered voters who wanted to vote for a Democratic presidential candidate with Democratic ballots. We gave these out until approximately noon. Then we were told to give those voters NPP Democratic crossover ballots. I have heard that this kind of thing happened at other precincts in Alameda County as well. I wonder how many of these Democratic ballots or their presidential votes were disqualified and not counted in Alameda. Finally, in LA County, these votes were counted. And I want to read, the registrar, the assistant registrar there said that they would count those ballots because of voter intent. So I'm asking Alameda, even though the vote has been certified, that you could consider voter intent and relook at, because the voters in LA County, voters in Alameda County should be treated the same as the voters in LA County. Thank you.
Good morning, gentlemen. My name is Lucille Riley. I am a registered nurse. Work half my life here in Alameda County at Summit Hospital in the ICU, taking care of many of the hardworking registered voters in this county who are working 2 jobs to keep the lights on. These are poor folks that don't have time to pay attention to elections. These are folks that their only source of power is to go into that voting booth and use their vote to do what they think is going to make a difference in their lives. We are compelled to be here today to speak out for these folks so that every vote counts. It's rare that good people like yourselves, good public servants like yourselves, have an opportunity to be heroes in the daily grind of what you're required to do here on this Board of Supervisors. We are simply here to call out for transparency and integrity to lead, guide, and direct the election process in Alameda County. Thank you so much for your time and consideration, and please stand up to the oath that you took to the good people of Alameda County and make sure every vote counts. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Misha Kiyomura. I live in San Leandro. I've been doing voter registration, voter canvassing, and now I'm working with volunteers to try to observe ballot counting.
Did you turn in a card?
I did.
I don't have one. Can you fill it out again?
Okay.
When you're done? Just when you're done, thanks.
Okay. So, in looking at the registrar of voter goal or mission statement, it says that they should be trying to be fair, accurate, and have an efficient electoral process. And all of the things that you're hearing, I have doubt that that is what's actually going on, and so I'm very concerned. I'm going to be reading a statement from a voter from East Oakland who was not able to be here on June 7th at 7 a.m. He left his house so that he could travel the 3 blocks to his polling place and vote before he headed off to work. He's a vote-by-mail voter and had received a no-party preference ballot, so he was taking that extra step to make sure his vote counted and went to his polling place. When he got there, what he found was completely beyond belief. His polling place had no rolls, they didn't have a ballot machine, and the precinct captain had called in sick. Because of this, his only option was that provisional ballot. So he went to work to relieve his coworkers, worked the night shift so that they could go to vote as well, but he made a point to leave work early so he could go back to his polling place and try to vote again, a step most people probably wouldn't or be able to take. So in the late afternoon or early evening, he arrived there and found that they now had rolls and the ballot machine, but when he signed the rolls, his signature was number 178. His precinct had been handing out ballots all day, and he was number 178 on the rolls. How long had this precinct gone without rolls? How long were they handing out provisional ballots to a precinct of thousands? How many people in Alameda County voted on provisional ballots when they should have received party or crossover ballots? My main request is just, I would really like for all of the votes to be counted. We've been working very hard to try to make sure that people are able to cast their vote, and we would like for them to be counted. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Jen Graham, and I was a ballot observer. On June 17th, I headed to the courthouse to observe ballot counts at the Registrar of Voters. It was on that day they were processing remakes. I was escorted down to the room where the remakes were taking place, and when I walked in the door, I was shown to a tiny roped-off area where the observers were meant to watch from. There were more than 20 tables with teams of 2, one calling out a vote, the other filling in the new ballot. But from the 5-foot roped-off area, I could only visibly see half of this process taking place. That is, if the observer who arrived before me wasn't standing there already watching and listening. We weren't allowed to talk to each other or the workers. We weren't allowed to take notes. We weren't given seating, so we had to stand in one place for hours while we tried to analyze democracy taking place. I asked questions of the election tech when I had them, if he was available, since most of the time I was there, he was typing on his phone, out of eyesight, or out of the room entirely. The answers I was given were sometimes vague and unclear, leaving me confused about what was really happening in other parts of the room that I could not see. I was told they were taking care to capture the voter's intent, but how can that be when this was the accessibility to the process? How can that be when this was the transparency we received? As of today, there are just about 27,000 no-party preference voters who did not receive crossover ballots. That's 27,000 people who either chose or weren't given the opportunity to vote for a presidential candidate. 27,000 voices not heard and 6.5% of all votes cast in Alameda County. Is this what you want to happen to your votes? Is this what you want for your community, to have your neighbors, your friends, your loved ones to be silenced, to not know what happened to their votes or not even be given the opportunity? Is this how you honor the voters' intent? The people of Alameda County and the state of California want transparency from their government. They want their elected officials to fight for their rights. They want fair and untainted elections regardless of the political affiliations and in spite of what candidate they support. We need clarity in Alameda County on what really happened in this election. So I want you to ask yourselves two simple questions. How would the loss of 27,000 votes have affected your campaigns? And did your vote count? Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Dwana Bain. I'm an attorney. I have been working with this group of observers, many of whom spoke today, some of whom could not be here today. I have talked with people who observed the vote count throughout the state of California, and I have to tell you that what I have heard and seen from Alameda County observers is obscene, and it is a violation of the law. I urge you to look at California Elections Code 2300 subsection 9A and B and California Elections Code 15104. And I'm going to read as much as I can of this sworn declaration that I received from a person named Karina Acri Paez, who observed as much as she could of the process. She says, if called as a witness, I could competently testify to what I have written in this declaration. I was present as a ballot counting observer Saturday, June 11th, 2016 at the Alameda County Registrar's office. I observed the ballot counting process on that day 2 to 5. After signing into the Registrar's office, I was asked to wait for Tim Dupuis, who would come and speak with me about the rules. I must obey as a ballot counting observer. Tim stated I would need to stand behind a cordoned-off portion, that no chairs were permitted as an observer. All right, I will skip to some other things. Tim explained Jeffrey Normart, an election tech, would need to be present at all times. Tim stated if I had any questions, I could ask Mr. Normart. Mr. Normart escorted me to the ballot counting area. Well, okay, I will skip to the end. Basically, this observer said that she could not see anything. She asked questions. Tim Dupuis said that he would not answer the questions, that not all voters would be notified if their signatures were not matching, and that, let's see, I want to read the very, very last paragraph here. I asked him where I could find the total number of ballots which have been deemed uncountable. Tim stated Alameda County does not release that number. I asked him why not. He stated again, we don't release that number. We want that number released. Thank you.
Thank you.
Catherine Pauling with the Alameda Renters Coalition. If you could change me from agenda to non-agenda.
Well, are you speaking on an item that's on the agenda?
No.
What are you speaking on?
I'm going to request you use your power and influence to contact your cities to ask for stronger rent and eviction protection to avoid further homeless being created.
What further what? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I'd like my time to start over.
Yes, okay. I really know how to run a meeting.
Thank you.
What was your name again?
My name is Catherine Pauling.
Okay, and then what was the
And the organization is the Alameda Renters Coalition.
What was the number you were under?
The bond measure?
63-1?
Yes.
Okay. Can you start our time over again?
Yeah, which we support and applaud your efforts on that.
But
I'm not addressing that.
Got it.
Okay, so what I am asking is that you write a letter to the cities within the county and use the power you have in the unincorporated areas to have strong rent control and eviction protection measures to prevent more homeless being created. I applaud your efforts in terms of addressing the tremendous need, but once again, that is still years away from being effected. Our city council continues to be disconnected, our mayor as well, from the needs of over half their constituents. More than half the city is renters. They've come up with this mismatch hybrid that is not giving peace. It brought back no-fault evictions. It takes away the small reallocation monies if people take longer, which means those most vulnerable among us who cannot find housing within that short 60-day period lose their moving money. The latest thing they are doing just a few days ago is they are suggesting that they put the ordinance they created on the ballot to undermine and split the vote for the rent control ballot measure that we are trying for the ballot. I think it's unconscionable. Clearly, real estate investors still have a great hold in this county, and with the current growth, and to balance it, we need your influence to enact a letter and support across the county and all our cities to protect our current residents and keep them in their homes. I would refer you to the recent letter by Mayor of New York, where he's taking strong leadership, strong action. This is your power. This is your responsibility. Please use it. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else?
I
You've
add
already
something
spoke,
real
sir,
quick?
under public comment. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Add
You
something?
already spoke under public comment. Thank you. Sir, you already spoke under public comment. Thank you. Okay, with that, public comment is over. With that, Dr. Goslin, are you here? I've been looking for you. I haven't seen you. Dr. Goslin? Dr. Larry Goslin. All right, not here. All right, so item 62, we'll just note that we commend Dr. Larry Gosman for his many years of distinguished service to the county for the East County BZA.
There he is.
Where you been? Where you been?
Waiting outside. Too many people.
Too many people made you nervous, huh?
For this country boy.
All right, okay. All right, so I'm going to move to item 62 real quick, get this done. Not that we not get it done, but I know you've been waiting and you want to head back. I wanted to take a minute to acknowledge Dr. Larry Goslin for his 14 years of dedicated service to the citizens of Alameda County. Dr. Goslin was appointed to the East County BZA on April 23rd, 2002. He was a longtime resident of Livermore. He received his Bachelor of Science in Zoology from UC Davis in 1976. He's a Doctor of Veterinary Medicine degree, UC Davis in 1981. Dr. Goslin was a dedicated and effective member of the East County BZA zoning adjustments who did his homework and always was well informed about the issues before the commission. And during his tenure as a member of the East County Board of Zoning Adjustment, Dr. Larry Goslin studied a great number of environmental documents, including the impact of development of special species. It is the responsibility of the BZA to set mitigation conditions for the impact of projects on special species, often after extended testimony and the fact-finding involving agency stakeholders, property owners, and project proponents. Dr. Larry Goslin did faithfully attend the meetings of the Commission for 14 years, where he was always prepared for well-informed about the routine as well as the challenging applications. Larry was also able to identify the true issues and not get distracted by the extraneous ones. He also sought consensus and was considered each application on its merits without prejudging the issues. And Larry Goslin was always ready and willing not only to state his opinion, usually, but also to listen to and consider those of others. He asked insightful questions, then took a well-reasoned position according on even the most complicated issues, of which many during his tenure on the BZA. Larry Goslin earned the respect of his fellow commissioners on these kind of BZA adjustments and his enthusiasm, dedication, and professionalism. Whereas the commissioner on the East BZA Larry Gosman has provided many, many hours of his time and service to the public, the residents of Alameda County. He has benefited from his hard work and dedication to the public service. In addition to his many accomplishments, he was appointed to the Alameda County Board of Supervisors, Alameda County Ag Advisory Commission on November 3rd, 2015, representing wildlife biology. Now, therefore, the Board of Supervisors, Alameda County, State of California, hereby commend and recognize Larry Gosman this 14th day. I guess you were supposed to be here on the 14th, June 2016, for his 14 years dedicated service as a commissioner of the East County BZA, for his personal dedication and commitment to the needs of the citizens of the 1st District in Alameda County. So, this is what you get after 14 years of service.
Got so much more.
But you did get a bigger audience. Yes.
I'd like to thank the supervisors for having given me the opportunity, specifically Supervisor Haggerty, the opportunity to serve on the BZA. It was a remarkably interesting time, and I'd like to compliment the supervisors for having selected members who were able to perform in a manner that allowed this gracious recognition of my role. Most importantly, it was a great time to learn that the potential to have discussions with staff was absolutely crucial to the discretionary decision-making process. And I appreciated very much the efforts put in by staff over the years to respond to questions and anticipate our needs. So had it not been for the good work of staff, our BZA would not have been able to do our good work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Gosman. Appreciate it. Okay, with that, Supervisor Chan.
Okay, I would like to take this opportunity to proclaim June as Elder Abuse Awareness Month. We do this every year, but it's a very, very important issue for our aging population in Alameda County. It's estimated that as of July 2015, approximately 12.5% of our population of over 200,000 county residents were 65 years of age and older. And the elder population is the largest growing segment in the county. Elder abuse is one of the most underreported crimes in the United States. It's estimated that only 1 in 14 cases of elder abuse comes to the attention of Adult Protective Services or law enforcement agencies. And elder financial abuse and neglect obviously affects an elder's health, life, and financial resources, and can result in the loss of an elder's independence, home, life savings, and actually their life. Victims of elder abuse include both men and women of diverse educational, socioeconomic, and ethnic backgrounds who have been victimized by strangers or persons, including relatives, who may be in a position of trust in the family. We're very lucky in Alameda County to have a strong partnership between the District Attorney's Office and our Alameda County Social Services Adult Protective Services Department, who work tirelessly on helping people who are victims of elder abuse and prosecuting the perpetrators of elder abuse. So the Board of Supervisors today proclaims June 2016 as Elder Abuse Awareness Month in recognition that elders are valuable members of society and have a right to live safely and securely in the community. We have Cheryl Poncini from the District Attorney's Office, Kevin Dunleavy's here, Dina Andow, Victim and Witness Consultant with the DA's Office, Bridget Lowe of the Elder Abuse Unit, and Alicia Morales from the Adult Protective Services Social Service.
So, I don't want to speak on the resolution.
Supervisor Chan, Kevin Dunleavy, Chief Assistant with the DA's office. I want to thank you for your words and having the board recognize June as Elder Abuse Awareness Month. I want to really echo what you said about the great partnership that exists between our office and our Elder Protection Unit and the work of APS at the Social Services Agency. In addition to the collaboration that exists when cases need to be prosecuted, there's a great deal of awareness that goes out and prevention and outreach to elders, and that was particularly done this month of June. So I'd like to call upon Ms. Morales and Cheryl Poncini from my office.
Good morning. And I do want to thank you again. This is the 4th year in a row that the board has recognized June as Elder Abuse Awareness Month. The message is simple and straightforward. To end abuse, report abuse. The problem is life is not so simple and straightforward. The problem becomes when people do not report cases of suspected abuse, either because they don't recognize abuse for what it is, or they're reluctant to report it because the suspect may be someone close to them and that they're dependent on that person. So in my opinion, the way to end abuse is to have a collaboration between agencies such as the Oakland Police Department and the Alameda County Sheriff's Department and Adult Protective Services to do the investigations of suspected abuse, and to have a DA's office, such as ours, that prosecutes confirmed cases of abuse. People need to be aware of this topic, and your issuing this proclamation today is a big step in raising public awareness, and for that, we thank you.
Hi, thank you. I'll be brief. I'm Alicia Morales. I'm the Division Director over Adult Protection, and I want to thank your board again for acknowledging June as Elder Abuse Awareness Month. And I also want to thank the folks at the DA's office, Nancy O'Malley, Kevin Dunleavy, Cheryl Poncini, and all the other folks there that work with Adult Protective Services as we fight together to address the silent epidemic of elder abuse. I would also like to give a big shout out to the staff of the Division of Adult Protection. The staff works hard every day. They're extremely professional and dedicated to ending abuse against seniors and vulnerable adults, and I'm very, very proud to work with them. Adult Protective Services receives approximately 400 reports of abuse per month, and we believe that this is only a fraction of the true incidence of abuse that is perpetrated against seniors and dependent adults living in Alameda County. As Kevin mentioned, elder abuse, most of the abusers are those closest to the victim, which further complicates the problem. It is through the support of your board that APS has launched an elder abuse awareness media campaign that encourages seniors to trust but verify when it comes to their finances. We are wearing these purple ribbons today, which we have shared. Thank you, Supervisor Carson, for wearing it. And we encourage the rest of the board to please wear that throughout the month of June, as well as the rest of the year, to help raise awareness of elder abuse.
Where'd you get it? Where'd you get it?
I have some for you.
Did you give him his special or what?
I have them for everybody, don't worry.
There you go.
We must all come together to ensure that all of our residents, including seniors and vulnerable adults, are able to live safely and free from abuse within their communities. If one suspects a senior or vulnerable adult is a victim of abuse, please call APS at 1-866-CALL-APS or 510-577-3500. And I do have ribbons for you all. Thank you very much.
Okay. You have another item, right? One more item.
Okay, I'd also like to take this opportunity to declare this month, June, National Healthy Homes Month. And this is an honor because Alameda County is the first jurisdiction in the nation to recognize HUD Secretary Julian Castro's National Healthy Homes Month. As you know, we've had a lead prevention department in the county for many, many years, and it's been expanded to include other things to keep homes safe and called healthy homes. Over 5,000 children in Alameda County have been lead exposed over the last 5 years. Over 256,000 people, including 1 in 4 children, living in Alameda County have been diagnosed with asthma, and many families and households are unaware that their homes can have serious health hazards, and education and awareness about the dangers of unhealthy or unsafe homes can save lives. The Alameda County Community Development Agency Health Homes Department has worked for over the past 22 years to develop effective solutions and strategies to make sure that our homes don't compromise young people and citizens' health. They provided assistance to over 10,000 homes with young children, remediated asthma triggers and lead hazards in 2,500 homes, and trained more than 2,200 individuals in Healthy Homes principles and lead-safe work practices. So now, therefore, be resolved that the Alameda County Board of Supervisors proclaims June 2016 as National Healthy Homes Month and encourages residents, public and private organizations to observe this month and appropriate programs and activities designed to enhance public awareness of home health and safety hazards and the way we can protect our family from these hazards. And to receive the proclamation, we have Marcella Foster, who's the director of Alameda County Healthy Homes, Michelle Miller, the acting director for the Office of Lead Hazard Control and Healthy Homes of the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development.
I got one already.
It didn't go with your yellow or what? Didn't matter.
Very sure. I even got a purple hat.
I'm Maricela Foster. I'm the director of the Healthy Homes Department. Thank you, members of the board, for this proclamation. I'm proud to be here on behalf of the Community Development Agency's Healthy Homes Department, and for the very first time, to celebrate the National Healthy Homes Month. We believe that no matter how good your health services are, that if you do not address the root environmental causes in your home, your health will not improve. So again, I'd like to thank you for acknowledging and recognizing the work that's done by the Healthy Homes Department in providing housing and environmental inspections in homes to better improve our community. And with me here is also Michelle Miller, behind me. And Michelle Miller came out from D.C. so that she could also be part of this proclamation.
Wow. It's a long trip, huh?
It was a long trip, but well worth it. You guys, as board member Chen had mentioned, you guys are the first county to follow in the lead of Secretary Castro, so thank you very much. Thank you, President Haggerty and members of the board, for the important proclamation. On behalf of Secretary Castro, my office, HUD appreciates the great work Alameda County has done through the efforts of its Healthy Homes Department, your model program. This first ever month-long celebration offers an opportunity to bring awareness to the impact housing has on people's health, as well as allows HUD, our office, and our grantees, like you all, to provide resources and education to encourage and empower families to take action and protect themselves from hazards in their home. Secretary Castro believes HUD is the Department of Opportunity because housing is a platform to improve the quality of life. A safe and healthy and affordable home lays the foundation for our health and our happiness and our future success. We join forces with states and local jurisdictions like the Healthy Homes Department to serve over 31,000 households in the last year alone. On June 15th, HUD awarded its second annual Secretary's Award for Healthy Homes, in which the California Healthy Homes Coalition was a recipient of that award. And I know your Healthy Homes Department is an active participant. The award was for their excellence in healthy homes innovation and achievement. Healthy homes play a key role in crafting public policy solutions like State Bill 655, which made California the first state in the nation to add visible mold as an enforceable, substandard housing condition. Since 1992, HUD has awarded funding to Alameda County to address lead and other healthy homes hazards in their communities. In fact, the Healthy Homes Department has successfully completed 8 lead hazard control grants and 3 Healthy Homes grants, remediating over 2,500 housing units in Alameda County. As the acting director of HUD's Office of Lead Hazard Control, I appreciate the leadership and gold standard Alameda County, the Community Development Agency, and the Healthy Homes Department has demonstrated in this area through its collaborative and evidence-based work. I applaud the board's commitment to sparking innovative development, and we look forward to our continued work together in making Alameda County a place of big dreams and opportunities. Happy National Healthy Homes Month.
Thank you. I can assure you the flight home is shorter. Karen Schmolvitz and Justin Rusa, you're to speak under item 63, but did you want to speak on this item? No. It was 63. Which one? 63.1? Justin? Where are you, Justin? You went to work? All right, Justin, I'll hold you and you can... 63.1. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Are there any Board of Supervisors remarks? Okay, seeing none, we're going to do the large motion real quick. Get that out of the way.
Okay, I'd like to move the following items unless there are speakers.
And I just, Mr. President, I just wanted to announce that there's been a request to continue item 10.
10. Okay.
Okay.
Let's roll.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.1, 12.
Continued.
10, yeah, 10's continued. 10.1, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 37, 38, 39, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50 is withdrawn, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 57, 58, 59, 60, and 61.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Vice President Chan, a second by Supervisor Valier. The following items 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 is continued. Did you say 10.1? 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 37, 38, 39, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50 was withdrawn, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, correct? Is there any objection to that motion? Hearing no objection, the motion passes without objection. Thank you. So those items were just moved in one motion. With that, I am going to move to item 63. Maybe I better not. I better not. I think I better stay with the agenda. Sorry, I'll get in trouble. Huh? It is a set? Where? Let's just see if I can.
Yeah.
All right, I'll move to 63.1. Okay, so 63.1 is where I'm going to go. We have a lot of speakers under 63.1, and I have a budget still to pass today. So, and most of you are supporting the item. And just from what I know, I don't think there's a whole lot of controversy on the board. So if you just feel like you just want to come up and say you support the item, that's really good. Okay? That way we can get to our budget and get our budget passed too. So, because there is a lot of work for this board still today. So if you could be brief, that would be much appreciated. Is there a staff? And if you could be brief too, that would be really good. So go ahead.
On both of them, 63.1 and 63.2. This is the resolution and order placing the measure on for the housing
do those
bond.
together right now?
Well, the presentation sort of addresses both.
So are you going to do those together?
Yes.
Okay, we'll take those items together.
Thank you. The resolution and order, which is 63.1, places the measure on the housing bond measure on the November 8th ballot. And 63.2 is the program narrative that would guide the use of proceeds upon passage of the measure by 2/3 of the electorate on the November ballot. I think your board is extremely aware of the housing crisis. They're in the narrative. There are additional information about the rapidly increasing rents, rapidly increasing sales prices, the shortfall of units that are affordable to our lowest income households, and the multitude of impacts and implications of the housing crisis that are having on our community. So I will not go into detail on those. You're also aware of the extensive public input and stakeholder process that has formed the basis along with the needs of the housing program that's proposed, leading us to today. The criteria for the development of the bond program has not shifted significantly from initial criteria that we used. It focuses on eligible uses of the bond proceeds, which are capital investments related to acquisition or development of real property, as well as addressing critical housing needs. And while the bond cannot address all critical housing needs, it can make a significant impact towards addressing them. The other bond program criteria are up there, and I think you're familiar with them. I want to briefly outline the proposed program. The total bond that's proposed is $580 million, split into two buckets of programs, homeowner programs at an estimated $120 million, and rental housing programs at $460 million. There's a tax rate statement and other materials in 63.1. The tax rate statement was developed by the auditor controller with assistance from the county's financial advisor and talks about the estimated pay per $100,000 of assessed property value. The homeowner components of the program there are three different programs, and they have common components in that they're countywide allocations and revolving loan funds. They speak to a number of areas of stakeholder input and need, and I'll highlight a few of those as I go through very quickly. The first program is the down payment assistance loan program at $50 million to assist middle-income working families to purchase homes and stay in our county. We've proposed a target income limit of 120% with some flexibility to go up to 150% of area median if we need to, depending on the market, the housing market and what it does, and also to make sure that the program can work in all areas of the county. And we are working on design features to encourage workforce proximity home purchases, assisting current residents, and still hoping to be able to include displaced former residents. We're working with Fair Housing Council on that, and a focus on educators and first responders so they can live where they work. The homeowner development program is an estimated allocation of $25 million to assist in the development and long-term affordability of homeownership housing for low-income households to become first-time home buyers and stay in our county. We've proposed an income limit of 80% of area median, which is low income, and a program that would be construction loans that would convert into down payment assistance loans when the properties are purchased by the low-income home buyers.
The last home ownership program is a housing preservation owner-occupied loan program with an estimated funding amount of $45 million to assist low-income seniors, people with disabilities, and other low-income homeowners to remain safely in their homes through provision of accessibility improvement loans and health and safety owner-occupied housing rehabilitation loans. And again, with a proposed income limit of 80% of area median income, although we believe that many of the benefiting households will be very low-income households. The rental housing components are divided into two areas which have essentially the same goal but would be administered slightly differently for a total of $460 million. They respond to the priority needs and stakeholder input with a focus on homeless people and other very vulnerable or heavily impacted populations, and are flexible to accommodate a variety of types of development. The Rental Housing Development Program has an estimated allocation of $425 million to create and preserve affordable rental housing for those vulnerable populations, including low-income workforce. We expect that most of the housing will be between 30 and 60% of area median income, which is very low. But we have a target of extremely low-income housing of at least 20% of the units to 20% of area median, which includes people who are homeless and people at SSI level, people with disabilities and seniors. We would leverage significant other financing that's available for affordable housing development, require a city financial contribution, and have extremely long-term affordability with a 55-year minimum. These funds could be used flexibly, as I mentioned, for all types of developments that are eligible and different stages of the development process, and could also, a portion of the city funds we propose could be used for interim crisis or transitional housing for homeless people. The target populations of the vulnerable populations that have been identified that we would be working to provide housing for are listed, and I believe you're familiar with them. This program we are proposing would have a geographic allocation of funds that's related to needs and assuring that all parts of the county have funds to benefit their citizens. The model is based on roughly half of the funds, or $225 million, being a base allocation for use in each city, and $200 million being used for regional pools to be drawn on for developments in those regions, including in the cities. The formula that was used for the rental housing development program, the city allocation, $225 million, is based on a blend of assessed value and total population, and making sure that no city received less than we had originally proposed. And then the regional pools are based on a blend of poverty, current poverty, and projected regional housing needs allocations for very low and low-income households. The Innovation and Opportunity Fund, which is the last program we proposed, has an estimated allocation of $35 million, the same purposes as the Rental Housing Development Fund, but with the goal of being able to respond more quickly and in between requests for proposal cycles to capture market opportunities, to preserve and expand affordable housing and tenant anti-displacement. A couple of examples of how these funds might be used are listed, and we're proposing that this be a countywide allocation so that we can respond quickly to opportunities as they arise throughout the county. The ballot measure language or question is in 63.1 and repeated here. And the next steps include, besides your consideration today, the development of public education materials, and then a shift in our focus somewhat to bring you, as you directed on Friday and as we have been planning to do, to really focus on the boomerang annual funds that you set aside previously for affordable housing and homeless response, and how we can develop best practice options to address anti-displacement and homeless assistance needs using those boomerang funds and other sources. That's my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Before I go to this, before I go to the speakers, are there any Supervisor Carson, please?
Yeah, thank you very much. Just want to get some clarity on a couple of things. Totally supportive and appreciate all the work, so I want to say that up front. Was there any change or correction made between what we received on Thursday in our board packet and what we got yesterday?
Yes, there was one correction. I apologize. I had missed the fact that two numbers had been switched between the unincorporated county and Union City in the base city allocation formula. So I made that correction, and those are the only two numbers that changed.
And so what was that correction?
The correction
On the record.
Shifted about, I believe, $3 million from the Union City allocation to the unincorporated county allocation, which was the correct formula.
Okay. So you corrected the...
Yes.
Okay.
And the chart in the PowerPoint and in the package that was distributed yesterday has the correct amounts.
Okay. In the area of the issuance of the bond proceeds, does this provide the county with total discretion or flexibility in terms of the retiming or the structuring of the bond issuances?
Yes.
It does? Okay. And is that stated any place in the resolution?
It says one or more issuances, so that leaves up to your board's discretion whether you do it all at once, whether you do it over time.
Okay. So, I mean, because this was a question I asked the other day, that's because there was a little bit of discrepancy between one issuance and 1, 2, and 3 issuances. And I know that there was some comment about up to 3 issuances. Is that correct?
Well, the auditor controller based the tax rate statement on 3 issuances, which is a reasonable basis for projection. The measure language and resolution allows your board total discretion on how many issuances you actually occur.
Okay. So again, that gives us the discretion in
Yes.
terms of whether it's 1 issuance or up to 3 issuance. I just want to make sure.
I believe it could be more than 3 also. Yes.
It can be more than 3? Okay. All right. That's it for now.
Supervisor Miley.
Yes, thank you. First of all, I want to thank Supervisor Carson and Chan for their leadership in getting us to this point with this measure, and everyone who participated and contributed to this. Just a few questions. One, so the assessed value, will it still be $14 per 100,000 of assessed value?
The tax rate statement has a range, which is required to have, and the range is between $11.60 per 100,000 and I believe $13.90, something like that. I could pull it out.
And is that assessed both for residential and commercial?
Yes.
Industrial property, so all
Yes.
And under the bond laws that govern bond issuance, there's no exemption for seniors.
That's correct.
Okay, just want to make, because I know people have asked me about that, and I wanted to make sure people understood we can't exempt seniors. Everyone's got to pay this. Now, we anticipate that the assessment will take place over the course of 7 years, 10 years. How many years do you think before we before we've raised the $580 million?
We've been projecting based on 20-year bond issuances. So depending on how many bond issuances there are and when they are issued, it could range, but each issue we've been projecting would only be for 20 years. And for our working assumptions, we've been using 3 issuances over the course of about 6 years. So the total period, if that's what ends up happening, would be about 26 years.
And so does that mean if my property is assessed at $1 million and I have to pay the let's say it's $14 per 100,000, that's $140. So would I be paying $140 per year for 26 years?
Well, it will depend on the size of the issuances and the number of issuances,
okay.
Which is why the tax rate statement has upon the first issuance, upon the maximum amount of the bond, because if you have more than one issuance, then you have assessments to pay off those issuances as they are issued.
I see. Okay. All right.
And anyone who is free to speak. I'm sort of giving you the general answers that I've been told.
Okay. In terms of the city's financial, the various cities have to make a financial contribution in order to receive bond proceeds. What's that formula? How is that formula based?
So your board will adopt policies that will govern that formula.
Okay, so
we have not brought those to you yet.
All right. Then, does the program also allow for us to partner with like the Peralta College or school districts if they want to get housing for teachers? Obviously, you've got any transition aid youth. Are those opportunities present themselves for school districts to partner with us on this?
We can definitely work with them. We need to make sure that all fair housing issues are taken care of, that fits with the broad parameters of the bond program, and that the total amount of funding needed would be available for those projects.
Okay. And then my Supervisor Chan just left out, because that one other question I can ask about that when she returns, because I wanted to get a sense. Well, first of all, does this require 2 readings?
No, I don't believe so, County Council. This is a one reading,
One
correct?
reading. So our action today will place this measure on the ballot? Yes. Okay. So I just wanted to kind of get a sense from Supervisor Chan. Let Supervisor Carson answer this. So after today, what is anticipated in terms of rolling out this effort to ensure its success on November? What day is election day?
8th.
November 8th.
Mm-hmm. So are you talking about the campaign aspect of this, or are you talking about the general marketing of
Both.
the bond?
Both.
Yeah, well, I mean, without a doubt, and Supervisor Chan and I have had a meeting regarding this. Without a doubt, there will be a full pledge campaign, and given the fact that this is a presidential year, all of the things that are in consideration in terms of a larger turnout and a more targeted turnout will be a part of what is decided by the campaign manager and others who manage these campaigns. I think that, again, I want to take the time to underscore 2 things. One is we've done this twice before, and we were unsuccessful twice before. And so for us to be successful this time, we're going to have to be politically surgical. I mean politically from an electoral point of view. But again, given the fact that it's a presidential election, I think that there's a lot of added considerations that we can take.
Yeah, and I want to just put that out there because I want to make sure folks understood. Just because the board's putting us on the ballot doesn't guarantee success. It requires 2/3 of the electorate who vote in November to.
There'll be other taxing measures on there. It's very confusing and has a challenge on it. Drop off in terms of voting. You're absolutely right, Supervisor Miley.
And we've done a couple of measures on health care that were successful, and I know the transportation measures we were successful, but sometimes we haven't been successful with those either. So people need to understand the journey's not over as a result of what we do today. Quite possibly the journey's just beginning to get us across the finish line. So I just wanted to kind of underscore that. And
if I could just interject, and then just for the record so that it's clear with respect to the advocacy for passing the campaign, with today's action you are putting the information on the ballot, and so once your board has taken that action, you can't use county funds for advocacy for the measure. So that will make it that much more important that there be a concerted community effort.
And we can't use county funds for advocacy or outreach, can we?
You can provide, so county employees, county staff can provide information, impartial, unbiased information, factual information about what the measure does, what the measure is. But correct.
That has to be separate from.
Correct. You cannot use county resources to provide advocacy to encourage people to vote one way or the other. So the county staff and the county staff's role will just be impartial, informational from going forward after you take the ballot item.
Okay.
If you place this matter on the ballot today.
Okay. So yeah, if this measure gets placed on the ballot, I just want to make sure Supervisor Carson and Chan know that you've got my everything I can bring to the table to help get us across the finish line.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I appreciate all the work you've been doing up to this point. I know you've been hosting a number of meetings, and a lot of your conversations and talks, and even throughout your own campaign, has been focused on the housing initiative. And so I think generally all of us really value and appreciate that, and I know that other members of the board have done the same thing. I do want to kind of underscore, since you opened this door, the fact that this is a measure, since campaigns unfortunately are extremely expensive these days, extremely expensive, while we may have people power, we still do need adequate resources in order to make this successful.
Yeah, and one last thing, back to Linda. How does this measure that we're going to place on the ballot take into consideration the faith community and their ability to help us with affordable housing?
Well, I think they have sites sometimes. We've done housing development on faith-based owned sites, church and others. Those are opportunities here. They are forums for information provision, and I'm happy to speak anywhere. I have been asked to speak at several city councils coming up, and I think probably all of them will eventually ask, so to provide public information about the bond measure, should your board put it on the ballot. And I think those are some of the ways.
So the faith community, the fact that they have properties, there are ways that we possibly could partner with them to provide additional affordable housing.
Mm-hmm.
And how do we define affordable?
Well, it would be, should your board adopt the program, it would be defined by the eligibility that was outlined in the presentation.
Okay. And then have we had any input from organized labor on this?
There have been some organized labor representatives that have come to some of the public meetings, and I have spoken to some of them. I know others have as well. And we are planning to meet to talk about both how the program might work, how labor can be involved, and also how we might be able to work with them to develop job training and other apprenticeship pathways for the people that will be housed, the income levels of people that the housing targets, to also be able to try to create some jobs for the population through the housing development.
I think that's important because it's that we tie, I mean, I don't think we have to formally do it, but we have to have a recognition that income inequality and jobs are a direct correlation to the housing issue as well. So we need to constantly be uplifting people's abilities to have jobs and be employed at the same time helping to provide affordable housing. And then finally, did we interact at all with the developer and the real estate community on this program?
They have also been actively attending meetings and providing input into the development of the program.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing I did last time. Go ahead and line up. I'll pull your names out. You got 2 minutes to speak. If you can do it in under 2, if you can do it in 1, I don't think you'll get anything but other than my appreciation.
I'll do it in 1. Linda Mandolini, president of Eden Housing, based in Hayward. I also am a resident of Alameda County. I live in Oakland. Thank you very much for considering putting this on the ballot, from Eden's board, from Eden's staff, from our residents, and the 8,000 people who are on our waiting list to get into affordable housing. I hope that you vote yes today, and we stand ready to help you get this passed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That is how you do it.
Linda always gets right to the point. Good morning, supervisors. My name is Gloria Bruce. I'm the executive director of East Bay Housing Organizations, also on the leadership board of Everyone Home. I would like to invite those folks who are here today from Everyone Home and EBHO to please rise and hold up your signs if you could, just so you can see how many of us there are here in the room. And again, we just want to reiterate, we're so glad to be at this point. We are very supportive of this effort. As you know, no one measure can solve everything, but this will give us some breathing room during the crisis. And the folks that you see in this room are the most skilled at leveraging and stretching dollars to make sure we are serving the community with these public funds. People will probably mention that the process was very transparent and public. We are very glad about that. The result is that you have a bond program that responds to many different needs and tries to do a lot, and we think that that's appropriate. New homes still matter, and they will have a ripple effect on personal health, economic stability for families, and neighborhood diversity and vitality. We think it's appropriate that this covers everything from rental housing to the very low income to home ownership assistance. We do just want to continue to remind the board that while everyone in the county is feeling the housing crunch, it hits lower income people the hardest. We want to make sure that programs and priorities for those with the greatest needs and the fewest choices become a reality. And just to remind you very quickly from the initial poll, 83% of respondents valued housing for homeless people, 85% for low-income people, and 92% wanted housing for seniors and disabled people. So let's make that happen with this bond. EBHO and our partners mobilized representatives from all of those communities. You see them here. You heard them at the town hall meetings and at many other hearings telling their stories. There are countless more like them, all individual stories, all striking the same themes. So the faces you see behind you today are those who will be helped by this bond, those who will be housed, those who will have their loved ones housed, and those who will help to make this happen. We will work with all of you to make this real. We will figure out the programs to work best and prioritize, and we will also work on complementary efforts to end displacement and homelessness. This is hard work. Please vote yes, and we're happy to do it with you. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Supervisors. Elaine DeColony, Executive Director of Everyone Home, the organization leading and coordinating the efforts to end homelessness here in Alameda County. So I come up here with an expression of appreciation for your leadership and the expert work of the Alameda County staff, particularly Linda Gardner, a request and contribution to the effort. So I want to start by saying that Everyone Home is very much behind this general obligation housing bond. We urge you to vote yes. We thank you for your leadership, and we are really excited to see how often the need to address homelessness shows up in the language about the bond and showed up in the community conversations. Board member and colleague Gloria Bruce mentioned that 82% of folks wanted to see this bond used to end homelessness. And in that spirit, to make sure that the bond realizes the intention of the community and the intention of your leadership, we offer a friendly amendment to the program description. On page 12 of the draft that I've seen, it talks about targeting the resources to those at 20% AMI, 20% of the resources. We would like to say ensure or require. It's the hardest housing to do, and we would like to really hold ourselves accountable as a community to making sure it is spent to ensure the housing of the homeless. But I do want you to know that we are fully behind the bond. We are fully behind Supervisor Chan and Supervisor Carson's expression of a housing emergency in Alameda County and using the flexible boomerang funds to address displacement and homelessness. And with that, I want to close by saying I would like to make a personal contribution to the campaign fund and invite the other people in line behind me and the other people in the room here today to help not only our personal capital, but our dollars to get this thing passed. It is essential for Alameda County. Thanks very much. So let me know where I can leave my check.
Not in this building, please. We're not going to jail. Go ahead.
I'm Don Stemp. I'm the president of Christian Church Homes here in Oakland. We're one of your long-term faith-based partners. We've been doing senior housing in Alameda County and Oakland for 55 years. We are currently operating about 1,000 apartments for seniors in Alameda County and Oakland, and we have 1,000 apartments, and there's over 1,000 people waiting for apartments. So waiting list is typically about 5 years long. Christian Church Homes will be supporting the campaign to get this thing passed financially. We're also going to help organize our residents to make sure that the vote gets out, and we will be supporting and we'll be sending a check in also. It is such a wonderful thing to have a triple bottom line, achieving housing, also providing jobs. You folks will be providing jobs in the short run as you spend your $500 million, and in the long run, providing jobs for 55 years at those housing sites. So also, it's so great to lift up the quality of life for the seniors. We are now having a really hard place where we are moving homeless seniors into our properties. Homelessness is a terrible thing, but if you want to see really terrible, get out on the street and see a 75-year-old in a homeless condition. So we are now moving those homeless folks into our housing facilities. I have a little comment on the exemption. I definitely heard the remark that it's going to be challenging to exempt senior homeowners from this tax, but I would definitely want to consider exempting affordable properties from this tax. If it's very ironic to tax a property that is serving creating affordable housing, and then turn around and tax them and make them pay for it again. So I would want to consider that type of exemption for existing affordable housing properties. Thanks. Keep going.
Hi, my name is Pastor Russ Dooley. I'm president of Pastors of Oakland. I live in Alameda County in Dublin. In fact, we have about 25 members that live there. We are, as the Pastors of Oakland, are for the affordable housing, by the way, and we are involved in that faith initiative for housing. So we support that, and we will get out the vote, and we will work with you to make that happen. And I want to acknowledge Supervisor Chan and Carson for their help in Alameda County Board of Supervisors. We appreciate their effort, by the way, and we thank you for listening to the feedback of the community. We support the final proposed allocation of funds, especially support $45 million allocated to the Accessibility and Home Preservation Program. Given the limits of that bond that can be used for, we strongly recommend that Alameda County establish a revolving regional ownership and anti-displacement fund. Second, a regional tenant assistant grant fund. And further, we recommend that the county pass a resolution in July detailing how they will repurpose countywide efforts, affordable housing monies for comprehensive anti-displacement strategies, including regional funds. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Margaretta Lynn with the Dellums Institute. And I want to first really commend Alameda County for a very inclusive and responsive public process. From my perspective, we saw through your leadership and your compassion and caring model government in action. So thank you very much. We are in full support of this bond measure, but also need to flag for the Board of Supervisors our concerns about two populations who are at extreme risk of displacement. That's our elderly homeowners, and there are 15,000 of them across Alameda County, as well as 68,000 low-income tenants. Their interests are not going to be fully met through the bond proposal because of legal constraints. So we have two recommendations for you. Number one, we would like to see the legal opinion regarding the bond usage in public. That will help with our needs for public education and transparency. Number two, we are in full support of consideration of using the housing boomerang dollars to help address these unmet needs. The county can provide your political leadership and your dollars to begin the seeding of a regional public and philanthropic fund. Thank you very much, and we remain committed to working with you closely.
Good afternoon. My name is Christine Steiner, and I'm delighted to be here. Many, many, many years ago, you supported a senior housing bond issue that Sarah Connor, who was with Eden Housing, now deceased, Eileen Weinrib, and myself brought, and you put it on, and Linda was the staff person. So it's a long time ago, and we lost by a fraction. Supervisor Miley, you pointed that out, but let us not forget, things have changed. Then we were concentrating on seniors. This time we're talking about everybody. We're talking about our children. We talk about who's going to support it. For over 29 years, I've been a housing authority for the city of Pleasanton and for Alameda County. Thank you very much for your continued support and appointment. And I know how over 45,000 people applied for Section 8 housing, and we had to have a lottery. And we are waiting for people to drop off so the person can get on there. We're not alone. I hope your leadership will lead other counties in the Bay Area to also follow your suit. Business has a huge stake in this, so we should be going to the chambers of commerce. Don't live in a bubble. Other communities are losing businesses because their employees cannot afford to live here. And we should not fool ourselves thinking that it is all rosy here. It obviously is not. And so I urge your support, and I will do everything I can. I live in East County, and we have many hidden people there suffering, and I thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Jean Robinson. I live in affordable senior housing in Oakland, and I'm so grateful to have a home in a clean, safe, local, and affordable. I have lived and worked in the Bay Area since 1962, the whole of my adult life. If I had to move far enough to find affordable residential property, I would be very far from my family, friends, and community, and I would be very unhappy. So I support this bond. Among the benefits of this bond is we can help provide for our homeless population, get them off the street, out of parks, and homeless encampments, and into stable, safe, supportive housing. And perhaps the most important homeless are the invisible ones, the children who's moved from sofa to sofa in a never-ending worry about where the family will be tomorrow or next week, or the children who sleep in cars and can never tell anybody about it because it's against the law, or the children who are troubled by endless bouts of childhood illness because good health requires more than a hungry homeless family can provide. Thank you for getting this bond on the ballot, and like all the other people here, I am planning to support it and get it passed.
Good afternoon, members of the board. My name is Herdy Ashell. I represent local carpenters, local 35 in Alameda County. I'm here in support of the Affordable Housing Bond, prevailing wage bond, the apprenticeship language. On behalf of the Alameda Carpenters Union Carpenters, I thank you for your time. Have a nice day.
Good afternoon. My name is Doug Stimson. I'm with Habitat for Humanity East Bay, Silicon Valley. And I just wanted to start by thanking the board and the staff for Alameda County, and particularly Supervisors Chan and Carson and Director Gardner for leading this effort and being transparent and open and having lots of meetings about this and hearing what the community has to say. I think you guys are really strong leaders in the state in this area. Habitat supports this bond measure, and if this bond passes today, we're prepared to encourage our thousands of homeowners, volunteers, donors, employees, including in the faith community throughout Alameda County, to actively support this measure in November. We urge the board to approve these bonds. Thank you very much.
Good morning. I want to thank you, Supervisors Chan and Carson, for your leadership on this board, and just continue to extend those congratulations and thank yous that have come before me and will come after me. Also, thank you to county staff, especially Linda Gardner, for putting together a bond we think will make a significant impact on homelessness and meet the needs of Alameda County residents. My name is Darren Lowndes. I'm the Executive Director of the Housing Consortium of the East Bay. I work to create and secure affordable housing for extremely low-income people with special needs in Alameda County, and I am on the Everyone Home Leadership Board. The community has frequently expressed its desire to see this bond be used to house homeless and most vulnerable. This desire showed in the polling and the many community forums, and Everyone Home is excited to see it expressed in the proposed housing program. I'm fully in support of Elaine and Margaretta's friendly amendments that were suggested previously around including a requirement, not a target, that at least 20% of the funds will be used to create units for extremely low-income households at or below 20% of area median income. And as well as I want to voice my support of the recent recommendations put forward by Supervisors Carson and Chan to ensure we prioritize funding of anti-displacement and homelessness programs. using the boomerang funds. Please also hear the call to this is an opportunity to make a declaration of a housing state of emergency in Alameda County. I ask that all of these recommendations be included as changes in the program, and I thank you again for your work and for your leadership on this bond and look forward to working with you on its passage over the next few months. Thank you.
Good morning, Supervisors. My name is Nora Kosser. I'm with EAH Housing. We're a nonprofit affordable housing developer with 3 properties in Alameda County, Oakland, Union City, and Dublin. And I'd like to specifically talk to you and say thank you for supporting funding that would go towards the Tri-Valley area. Dublin, Livermore, and Pleasanton, don't normally get a lot of attention, and we do have a homeless problem there. So we're hoping that this money will effectively end homelessness in the Tri-Valley area. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. I'm David Stark. I'm the Public Affairs Director for the Bay East Association of Realtors. 3 quick asks. First, I think any of the affordable housing developers here will agree that successful affordable housing is based on a public-private partnership. And given that a significant portion of these funds would be allocated to homeownership assistance programs, we would ask that you would extend that philosophy to those programs as well. I want to thank staff for including the professional realtor perspective in the preliminary design of these programs. And in going forward, if the bond does pass, we ask that we have a seat at the table in the final design of these programs. Additionally, also a seat at the table in terms of oversight of the use of these dollars. Having the professional realtor community involved in the implementation and the monitoring of these programs will be a key element of its success. Last, I would ask that I understand there are limitations regarding the use of funds and who can be tasked on a general obligation bond. Speakers already have acknowledged the impact that this bond could have on low-income seniors, and our organization also has concerns about that as well. If there's any kind of flexibility, a rebate program that could be considered by this board in carving out an exemption for low-income seniors, we would appreciate that, and that would certainly have an impact on our final decision regarding support for this bond. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Supervisors. And President Haggerty, I haven't turned in a speaker slip, but I promise to do so immediately after I speak. I'm Marilyn Ezzie Ashcraft. I'm a member of the Alameda City Council. Earlier this year, my city council enacted a rent stabilization ordinance because we came to see that so many of our families, seniors, families with school-aged children were being evicted from their apartments as landlords raised the rents because they could, because this is a supply and demand situation in a booming economy and a hot housing market. It was very necessary that we pass that ordinance, but in many ways it's just a bandage on a big gaping wound. It is a matter of supply and demand, and we need to increase the supply of affordable housing at all different levels across the county because, as we know, this is a regional problem. We can't confine it in any one city limits or any particular geographical areas. So I commend you for your efforts to put this measure on the ballot. I've been to a number of the workshops. I will request that we have a presentation from staff to our city council so we can get behind endorsing that ballot measure, and I'll do everything I can to see that it passes. Thank you again.
Good afternoon, Supervisors. My name is Doug Biggs. I'm Executive Director of the Alameda Point Collaborative. We provide permanent supportive housing for formerly homeless families on the old Naval Air Station in Alameda. I'm also on the Everyone Home Leadership Board. I want to first off thank Supervisors Chan and Carson for your leadership in this bond, and want to thank staff and the supervisors' offices for the extensive community outreach that was done to reach this point. I think you've gotten a good sense of where the community stands on this. One of the things that I was very happy to see was the overwhelming desire to house the homelessness using this bond act. I'd like to reiterate and reinforce what Elaine said about the friendly amendment. We feel very strongly that 20% of the funds for those at extremely low households or at or below 20% of area and median income shouldn't be a target. Targets you could fall short on. Should be a requirement. This is a unique opportunity to address housing for the most critical need in the community. And so let's not sell ourselves short on this. Let's set it as a basic requirement and know that we'll exceed that requirement. I also want to thank Supervisors Carson and Chan for support of to continue to use the boomerang funds for homeless services and homeless assistance. We think that's important going forward because those are areas that the bond can't fully meet. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, supervisors. My name is Lillian Luhaler. I'm with Mid-Penn Housing. I work here in our Oakland office just a few blocks away, and I have the pleasure of being on the EBHO board of directors. I want to echo the thanks for an open process to both the supervisors and the staff. I think it resulted in a program that really addresses the wide array of housing needs throughout the county. We have the pleasure of working throughout the county. We recently completed a project in Fremont. It's a community of apartment homes for working low-income families as well as homeless veterans. It's 64 homes, and we received over 4,000 applications, which is heartbreaking. We need more affordable housing in our county, and we need it everywhere. In Pleasanton, we're working with the city and a group of visionary church groups who came together to build 130 senior apartment homes. In Livermore, we're working with the city on a mixed income project where the city has over 15,000 people on their city housing authority waiting list. Each of these new communities represents long-term planning, integration within their surrounding communities, and the opportunity to keep our friends, our neighbors, and our families here in the county. So I appreciate your yes vote today, and I look forward to working towards the passage. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Karen Smolovitz, and I could talk for hours about affordable housing.
No, you can't.
But with respect, and with respect to President Haggerty's request for brevity, I'll boil it down to 3 words. Let's do this.
That's perfect.
Kind of hard to follow up on that one, huh?
Yes, it is.
I'm Sue Merrill. I'm the Executive Director of South Hayward Parish. And too much has already been said, but just thank you. But I also want to thank Nate Miley for working with us to make sure we had shelter money this winter. This will be wonderful in 3 years. In the meantime, we were, except for 2 nights, the only winter shelter, warming shelter, available in Hayward. We housed 20 to 25 of our probably 300 homeless people. We run a food bank, which is open 4 days a week. We feed 4,000 people every week, 6 meals. There are unfortunately 5 other days in the week. Most of ours, 99% of them, are with the working poor that you guys are worrying about. And this is absolutely correct. In the meantime, everybody else is collateral damage. So the boomerang funds or whatever, we need to address the problem, which is very current, while I thank everybody, and particularly Linda and her staff, because they made things very clear for me, and I was very appreciative, and also Supervisor Carson and Chan for making this go. South Hayward Parish is in total support of the bond. We will work to make sure it happens, and we really appreciate all of your efforts. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Shauna Horowitz, and I'm a resident services manager from Mercy Housing. I oversee most of our East Bay properties. I had a different speech written up, but since I have to condense it, I just kind of summarized, and I wanted to bring some numbers forward for you to hear about how dire the need is for housing right now. We opened our wait lists at the end of last year for 4 of our East Bay properties. Eden House, which is a 116-unit family housing property, got over 800 applicants. To this date, only 10 vacancies have come available. The wait list is 5 years. We have a new property, the Arbor at Hesperian, which is a senior housing property. The wait list, they were accepting applications for 2 weeks, and we received 831 applications. There are only 77 units at that property. Casa Verde Apartments in San Leandro has 67 units. We received 677 applications, and right now the wait is 3 to 5 years. Bermuda Gardens received 150 applications. There's about 83 units there, and the wait is now 2 to 3 years. Still, even though the wait lists have closed, we constantly have a stream of people coming in and looking for housing, wanting to submit applications. I've had homeless families, I've had seniors, vets, friends looking for housing, but there's just nowhere to refer them to. Sometimes I give them the affordable housing guide knowing that they're not going to find housing. So in a nutshell, that's how there's a shortage of housing and we need more affordable housing built. So thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Supervisor Haggerty, Supervisor Chan, Supervisor Baye, Supervisor Miley, Supervisor Carson. You probably recognize me for my involvement in the community, a disabled community. So my name is Ramiro Montoya. I'm a resident leader with East Bay Housing Organization, and I live in East Oakland. I want to thank you for your leadership in making this bond a reality. As an Oakland resident who lives on an SSI and disability paycheck of $900 a month, due to my disability, I'm stuck in the poverty line now, with which I have to pay for all my bills. I know I will be living on the streets if I didn't have access to affordable housing. Even with affordable housing, I have to rely on charity organizations for food, because California is the only state that doesn't provide food stamps to people on disability. I currently live in affordable housing in East Oakland. If it wasn't for this housing, I might be homeless. This bond will help thousands of people like myself all over the county to have a safe and decent place to live. This measure will provide critically needed affordable housing for vulnerable communities who really need our help, like low-income families, veterans, seniors, and people with disabilities. Thank you for working to put this bond on the ballot, and I look forward to being one of who helped to turn this bond into a reality. I had a dream that Alameda County will lead the charge in ending homelessness. As a matter of fact, I still have that dream. This bond is a step toward making that dream come true. Please consider helping. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Charlene Jimerson. I live in affordable housing, and at 66 years old, I prefer it over senior housing simply because of its diversity. I have been homeless 8 years on the street and lived 7 years in substandard hotels. The SROs provided the very basic needs, but presented numerous continuing problematic occurrences such as bed bugs, roaches, ticks, mice, criminal assault, drugs, abuse of the elderly and physically disabled, and room invasion. Management quickly recognized vulnerable persons and used vulnerability in overcoming challenges as leverage to make full-service programs or others of authority incorporate them as case managers and co-payees. They use the eviction of the person with the challenges as a weapon of control. Discrimination by negative reporting was also found to exist in the giving of rental history from hotel managers who were upset because protected renters were eventually moved due to noncompliance with the definition of clean, safe, habitable, affordable housing. Building regulated affordable housing has proven not only to provide safe, clean, habitable, affordable housing under MHSA guidelines, but also protects targeted populations against discrimination and homelessness. It provides support by the simple fact that people who are different can live harmoniously together. It says that different done right contributes more to prosperous communities, which is the only way to eliminate discrimination in housing. Please vote yes on this bond. This measure will provide critically needed affordable housing for vulnerable populations who make up our community and really need our help. Today, I am a peer counselor as a result of having a good, safe, clean environment. I work for Bay Area Community Services. This is coming from being hospitalized in John George, still having a diagnosis of paranoid schizophrenia, being homeless, and having a drug addiction. I've overcome all that. Affordable housing coincided with all the support and leadership that I received from East Bay Housing Organization, from Bay Area Community Services, and from the Department of Rehabilitation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, honorable members of the board. My name is Justin Rauza with the Office of Assembly Member Rob Bonta. I'm here on behalf of the Assembly Member to appreciate your leadership with this bond. He is in strong support. That being said, just raise a couple of points. We'd like to uplift a comment that a youth speaker made at the last work group session around, as you pass these further resolutions, determining the details on these programs, ensuring that the housing that's built through the bond does not make it more difficult for folks with criminal records to access these, because we know that providing them housing is a very great step towards providing them with stability. The second thing is to echo sentiments around uses for the boomerang funds. People have already made great points about that. And also to share that the legislature and the governor are working towards finalizing an agreement to redirect $2 billion of Prop 63, or the Mental Health Services Act funds, to go towards housing first strategies. That would require building housing for folks with mental health, chronic mental health illness. So that could potentially be leveraged along with what you are doing here as well. And then the Assembly also has $400 million in terms of general fund dollars that would go towards housing statewide. So $580 million just for the county alone. We appreciate you putting this on the ballot, and Assembly Member Bonta is in strong support and willing to support to make this a reality. Thank you.
So I don't know if you heard one of the speakers, something that caught me, and maybe I'm not going to say this right, but he's in low-income housing, therefore he doesn't qualify for food stamps. Maybe you can work on that.
Okay, I'll take a note. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having this hearing and hearing us today. Thank you for your leadership. I'm with Amy Fishman with the Nonprofit Housing Association of Northern California. We stand here with East Bay Housing Organizations, Everyone Home, and all of our members to say yes, to say let's move forward. We have been doing polling throughout Alameda County and throughout the Bay Area. The concern for housing affordability is at an all-time high. The concern for displacement, for homelessness, and coming to solutions around those issues are at an all-time high. These issues rank higher than public safety, than education, than traffic. We are at a moment where action is needed. We know that housing is seen as critical to public health, to climate mitigation and sustainability, and to economic growth of this county. So you are doing the right thing. Your leadership is making a difference. We saw San Francisco move forward with a $310 million bond last November, and last week Santa Clara County, following your lead, voted to put a $950 million bond on their ballot in November. And today, San Mateo County is having a study session on what they can do on the ballot this year. This is happening all over the Bay Area, and your leadership has set a tone and a pace for what's possible. Your staff, with Linda Gardner at the lead, set the model of what community engagement needs to look like. Now is the time that you can have a critical impact on this, and we are here standing with you to make this happen. We are going to win this campaign in November. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Eddie Ituarte with the Oakland Tenants Union. To me, this is starting to be a long day, and we've had my highlight, you guys, folks in the audience. I don't know how the folks in the audience feel about it, but my highlight today was at the beginning when there was more open forum, and Catherine Pauling from the Alameda Renters Coalition made a presentation to the board, and one of the things she asked is that the board take a position on and support a rent control initiative that would apply to unincorporated areas. This is something within the power of the board to do. All they have is something for mobile homes, which is only a very tiny percentage of all the rental housing in the unincorporated areas. Now, when Catherine said that, see, Catherine Catherine Pauling and the Alameda Renters Coalition, they're at the center of the fight for affordable housing. Because the key piece of affordable housing or and displacement is that people are getting moved out because the rents are going high and there ain't no kind of regulation in a lot of cities and in unincorporated areas. And that's where you folks, in addition to supporting this bond, that's where you folks should also be concentrating. And there's been about 16 speakers today, previous to me, somewhere around there, and I noticed that none of you mentioned rent control or rent regulation and the need for counties and cities to have rent regulation initiatives and laws. And could I take a minute or so further, since I'm the only one that's putting forth a different point of view? Could I have a little bit more time?
No. But
No?
I haven't stopped you yet, so you can keep talking.
Okay, thank you. Just to mention, last time there was a meeting on this, Supervisor Carson spoke about the need that there's also a threat of cynicism among voters. I think what might happen also is that you pass this bond, the voters may vote for it, but how about all the people that are being displaced because of high rents and lack of rent regulations? I think there's also going to be a little bit of cynicism there too that you might want to pay attention to. Okay, I'll stop now.
Your time is up. Okay. All right, so with that, I will bring it back to the board for any deliberation or action. Supervisor Chan.
Hey, I had a couple questions and then comments. So can we clarify, under the bond program, we can't give exemptions at all, is that correct? Is that the...
That's my understanding, County Council.
That is correct. Okay, that's unfortunate. We would have liked to have done that, but we can't do it. And then in terms of the issue of making the 2020 a requirement rather than a target, is that language in the resolution today, or?
It's not in the resolution, it's in the draft program.
Okay, so I think that would probably be fine. I mean, I'm sure.
My only concern about it, I know your board and the community knows that I am dedicated my career to ending homelessness, and I'm highly supportive of targeting units to that population group. It requires operating subsidies to make those projects feasible, and we cannot pay operating subsidies with bond proceeds. So we have a commitment to reaching out and working with housing authorities, the behavioral health care around MHSA dollars, the housing opportunities for people with AIDS, possibly boomerang funds is another source, any type of operating subsidies, there are others, but that is required. And so since we cannot ensure that we would have that within the body of the bond program, that's my only caveat to mention to you.
Okay. Well, if we don't change the language, I'm sure it's the intent of the board, and could some of the housing boomerang, that could be part of that discussion too,
It can be part of that discussion.
That discussion, yeah. So we should make sure that we do that. So I just wanted to thank everyone for coming out today and staying for such a long time. As a person who's in government, I have to say that I thought the process, not from our point of view, but from your point, what you did for us was really good. I think Linda and the agency came out with some ideas, but it was a very creative process. We heard from a lot of different people. We added in a lot of different things that I don't think one person could have thought of. So I want to thank you for that. I think there was a lot of back and forth. We heard a lot of things, and we really tried to incorporate what people said. I know for myself, who's not a housing expert, I learned a lot through this process. I learned about the various types of things you can do, what you can do with a bond, what you can't do with a bond, and I just want to thank you for that. I think for someone in government, it's also heartening to see that people can work together and solve problems together, because there is a lot of cynicism out there, and there's a lot of infighting that goes on, and that really didn't happen in this process. So I want to thank you for that. I want to acknowledge Linda and her team. I want to thank my staff who attended every single, some combination of my staff or myself attended every single meeting that took place and put a lot of work in, as well as Supervisor Carson's staff. And I just want to say that I think we're doing this because we think, just like we're going to be talking about jobs, good jobs later, that housing is a basic right. People need shelter, people need housing. I think that in addition to that, we love the way the county is today. We have a rich diversity of people. You know, what makes up Alameda County is complex, but it's also very rewarding in terms of culture, in terms of language. And we don't want to see it change dramatically. We don't want the county to be a totally different place than we recognize today. In addition to that, we want our services to continue, and I've heard from our own service providers, they can't hire staff because people are moving out. So many of our agencies are reliant on being able to access some of these programs so that their staff, whether they be teachers, mental health workers, social workers, are able to continue to live in this county so that we can have the services that we need. So I just want to thank you, and I want to thank the board too for having the hearings in their district and for being very supportive, and that we were able to work well together on this. So at the appropriate time, I'll move the items.
Supervisor Miley.
Yeah, thank you, President Haggerty. Yeah, I just want to just kind of dovetail on a couple things that Supervisor Chan just mentioned, because being in 3 parts of the county, North, Central, and East County, I think what we're attempting to do is have a rising tide lift all boats. The fact that redevelopment was dissolved, we need a funding source for affordable housing. I think that's what this does. I know Supervisor Haggard and I are on ABAG, Association of Bay Area Governments, and we're looking at housing strategies throughout the entire region that will work to provide affordable housing throughout the entire Bay Area. When people start talking about rent control, and if that were something to be imposed on us, that would be the quickest way of sinking this. I know that for a fact. Rent control is not something I think is universally accepted throughout the county. I know it's not accepted in my district, particularly in the unincorporated area. So if you try to start imposing things on constituencies that don't necessarily want that, then I think that's going to be the quickest way to ensure the failure of our efforts. It needs to be a rising tide lifting all boats. It's important that the real estate community and the developer community have be at the table relative to the oversight committees and other aspects of this, along with tenants, along with the nonprofit community, along with labor, along with the faith community, along with seniors, along with the reentry community. They all need to be at the table. But if you start pitting people against one another, that's going to be the quickest way of sinking this. I just want you to know that.
Sure. Anybody else? Supervisor Carson.
Yeah. Are we on 63.1?
Actually, I think we're on both.
We're passing both at the moment, at the same time.
We will do both at the same time.
Okay.
Unless you prefer, we can bifurcate them, do them separately.
Take your
if you'd
lead.
like.
I'll take your lead on that. So we're doing both.
We'll do them separately.
Okay. Appreciate that. And I do really want to underscore Supervisor Chan's leadership on this initiative that we're going to take before the voters. I don't think it was any question that we were going to support your leadership, and appreciate you giving me an opportunity to tag along on this ride. And I do appreciate Linda's ongoing efforts, not just in this initiative, but to try to deal with affordable housing and homelessness in this county. And I appreciate Supervisor Chan's staff, as well as staff that, from my staff that worked on this. On 61.1, I would like to insert in this, because it's a document that's a resolution, and that is, it's how much administrative monies total come out of this thing?
And Supervisor Carson, just to clarify, 63.1.
63.1 is what I'm talking about, yeah. Yeah. And the amount of administrative monies coming out of this bond would be how much?
We are estimating 37, about 6.5%
a maximum, so that's about 37 million.
About 37 million over the life of the bond.
Yes.
So I would like to make sure that in the resolution, it states that the administrative cost comes out of the bond proceeds. It says it in the letter, but it should say it in the resolution, because that's a lot of money to come out of our general fund. I mean, there's no other place it comes from if it doesn't come from that. So I'd like to make sure that that's included in the resolution. I do have a comment on 63.2, but I'll wait.
Okay, let's stay with that one first. Is that it?
Huh?
Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll move 63.1 with the addition of a statement that the administrative fees will come out from the bond.
It's part of the resolution.
Yeah.
Okay, motion by Chan as amended with Supervisor Carson seconding. Supervisor Valley, you had something?
No.
Oh, I thought you raised your hand.
I didn't.
Okay, is there any objection to that motion? Motion passes 5 ayes. 63.2.
63.2 if I can, and I know that I'm assuming Supervisor Chan wants to make the motion, so this, a couple of things on that. And I've said this a number of times, and I've heard hints of it from other board members, so I'll try to be succinct. Affordable housing, and I think it's really critical that we do focus on affordable housing. But again, Supervisor Miley mentioned how do you define affordable, and for most people, affordable is not affordable. And so, you know, while I totally support this measure going forward, and knowing that this housing, if passed by the voters, will inevitably be built probably 5-7 years down the line based on how long it normally takes to build affordable housing. I've heard too many people talk about the impact on homelessness, which is present. It's not futuristic. It's growing, actually, into the future. It's not staying stagnant in our community. And also around people being displaced, be they seniors and or others being displaced. And while there's references to it in the boomerang funds, and I know that there's already a demand on the boomerang funds for in terms of anti-displacement and homeless response. I would like to ask for an amendment that actually puts in Elaine's comments, and that the program also includes a requirement, not a target, on the 2020 funds. And I think we need to push the envelope on this. We're passing this measure, hopefully, and to the extent that we really do focus on a present-day issue that is just growing throughout our county, encampments out in South and East County, people homeless out in South and East County, people doubling up, tripling up in each other's homes all throughout the county, students going to UC Berkeley that are homeless, seniors that are homeless, families that are homeless. I think we have a requirement to do that. And so while we still got to work out the particulars of the boomerang stuff, I would like to say that we not talked about the city match and what the city match is supposed to do. And so I would like to say that maybe we require that the city hard match go to, and this is an amendment, go towards the county fund for anti-displacement, for homelessness assistance programs. And I think we can work those things out, but we have found even through the whole time redevelopment was in place, redevelopment was abused, and that's why it was pulled out. People did not build affordable housing. They did not build low-cost housing throughout this state, and it was abused. And so this really does tighten the bolts down a little bit more to try to get at displacement of people who will lose their homes, which are not just individuals and not just seniors, but families, and it will get even more tighter, I think, at the issue of homeless assistance.
And so I'd like to ask if that also be a part of the resolution.
Okay, so just to be clear.
Question, Supervisor Valier.
Linda, question to you. Do you think that that amendment would in any way inhibit the participation by any of the cities in the county?
I don't feel fully prepared to answer that. I do think it's significantly different than what we have been presenting to the public and to the cities, in that the sources of funds that they may be thinking about might be restricted in a way that wouldn't allow that, but I can't really answer that without further discussion.
Okay, that would be my number one concern. I know some cities have been very proactive and have affordable housing within their structure for redevelopment. They still carry forward, but others don't. So that's my only concern.
Yeah, if I can, just 1 second. 2 weeks ago, I was in Secretary Castro's office, who's the Secretary of HUD. And we were there fighting for what we know is the new direction of the Office of HUD, and that is to move towards permanent placement. And I think we all basically accept permanent placement, but we know that that's not real. And so that means that a lot of our existing shelters are now in the process of being defunded because of the fact that they are not moving people towards permanent housing. And so these kind of forecasts say that we got to, I'm thinking, this is just me personally, that we got to figure out how to get ahead of, unfortunately, an added a problem that we're going to have, and that is like the Henry J. Robinson and others that are in the process of potentially losing, and where families live because they're losing the funds that are now going towards permanent housing. And that's throughout the entire county. That's not just in North County.
You know, it's kind of funny that Supervisor Valier asked that question, because I actually just called my staff and I was hoping to bring him in here to find out what is the impact of that amendment, you know, on the cities in my district. Because sometimes when we do these things on the fly, there's unintended consequences. And we just, through the budget process, tried to clean up an unintended consequence on something that we thought was very, you know, something very small, and then found out that it locked out, you know, an organization in Livermore, for example, from being able to be involved in the AB 109 process. And I have to admit that your answer really did not make me feel any more comfortable that this is just a very simple thing. By you saying you're not really prepared to answer that question really makes me feel that there could be an intended consequence, or not on Supervisor Carson's part, but maybe there could be an impact on maybe some of the smaller cities and their ability to participate if we made it a firm goal. And I'm a little nervous about it. I certainly support everybody's right to housing, but sometimes these smaller cities don't have the ability to do some of the things some of the larger cities do have the ability to do. So I personally believe I would rather get up and going and then maybe analyze it later. It's just me talking, but I'm being a bit paranoid right now.
And let me say, I respect that, because, you know, I mean, this is kind of going in uncharted waters, right? So I clearly accept that. I'm just not convinced. You know, I totally trust Linda, and I totally trust our Alameda County Community Development Agency, so this is not a swipe at them. But we're always putting off the things that are not guaranteed towards homelessness. I mean, it's kind of like, you know, the hardest thing to tackle. And the same thing for anti-displacement kind of stuff. It's kind of hard to tackle that. And I'm trying to figure out how we tighten this down to really deal with the people who are truly out in the street every single night with no place to go, that would like to have a place to go, that are increasingly becoming seniors and families, and those who are still trying to struggle to hold on to their homes with their entire family still intact, adult family still intact, living there. They can't afford you know, to hold on to their place, that we come up with some mechanism to keep them. We talk about, and this again is not a swipe at the board. I want to understand, this is not,
We talk about we like the fact that this is a multicultural community, that it's an all-inclusive community of all ages and economics and everything. And we're going to have to do a little bit more to really try to ensure going forward. In 5 years, by the time we open the first door to the first affordable house, how many more people will have become homeless? How many more people will have been displaced because they couldn't afford to keep their homes that they had almost paid off? And so I'm trying to figure out, how do we tighten up today? I applaud what comes out of in 5 years with the affordable housing stock, but how do we deal with the people today that are struggling to survive today on the street and hold on to their homes? And I don't feel comfortable that this is tight enough for that.
Okay, I think there are two issues. So one is the issue of making the 2020 mandatory rather than, a requirement rather than a goal. So people don't seem to have a problem with that. Mm-hmm. So then the second piece, I guess it depends on how you want to word it.
Right.
Would it be enough to say that we would encourage cities to provide a match for that 2020 program as a priority? I'm trying to think of how to word the second part that doesn't trap us into something we can't do.
I guess the operative word that you may be concerned about, and maybe others are, is require, as opposed to. So how do we try to hold cities to that?
Well, the reason why I said it that way is we're saying that should be one of the priority programs for their match. We know the cities are going to have to match,
sure,
right?
Right.
But if we state something, I don't know what whether we say encourage or ask, request that the city match prioritize this 2020 program.
So I appreciate that, because I'm looking for the strongest language, right? And if we encourage, that's pretty weak. If we require, if we use another request, how do you legally hold somebody to request that they follow the rules? I'm looking for.
One option would be that you direct staff to work with the cities and come back with policies on the match that emphasize requiring or emphasize the ability to match the homeless housing or the extremely low income housing and contributions, what I heard, other contributions to the anti-displacement and homeless efforts that your board will be adopting. Something like that, and we come back to you with some detail on that, but your direction to us is very strong.
So I don't want to be a problem here, but I am. And so if that was to go back and negotiate that part, then why would you not start with require in terms of the discussions and negotiations? Because, and I don't want to take up a lot more time on this, because I really, you somewhat being the authority here, of our 14 cities, how many of them really did their good faith effort around affordable housing? Of our 14 cities, how many of them have honestly stepped up to the plate around homelessness and displacement? You have a fairly good sense of that, and what I'm just trying to do is to not to have a stick as opposed to a carrot.
Mm-hmm. Well, the concern that I have is around what sources of money is available to those cities that they can use for the different purposes that you're talking about, and what the requirements of those funds are. That's my concern, and whether all cities have funds that could be used for the purposes you're talking about. And that's the research I'd like to do and come back to you with under clear direction that that's the desire of the board. I also heard that the other possible amendment would be on page 12 of the program, and would just change that word. Instead of includes a target that at least 20% would be includes a requirement that at least 20%.
Correct.
So just to make sure I'm tracking.
Yes.
Supervisor Carson, would it work if we directed staff to negotiate a baseline contribution? That's pretty strong. To negotiate a baseline contribution to the homeless and programs and the lowest income programs or something.
From each of the cities.
From each of the cities.
So separate from this, but negotiate, if you don't want to call it match, that they make a baseline contribution into a fund for displacement and homelessness?
That they go and negotiate that with the city staff.
I'm going to call on Supervisor Miley, but, we had 8 hearings. We had 2 additional. We've been working with the cities. Now this is coming up, and my fear is we're going to make cities mad, and then all of a sudden we're going to start losing support. And I got a city that's already teetering. So I'm really sorry to see this happening right now, right here. Supervisor Miley.
Yes, I would just like to say that I support the direction that Supervisor Carson wants to go in, but not making it part of our action today. I do think it should be something that we have the staff work on and bring back to us immediately, because I know we've held joint meetings of social services and transportation planning just looking at the homeless situation. We need to fund the housing resource centers. We need to get those funded. We need to get those up and operational throughout the county. That's going to be a big thing in order to try to address homelessness. We need to have navigators that are helping people navigate the system to get services. We need to be doing that. And plus, we need to have the resources to have transitional and permanent housing. All that, and there's other things that need to be part of that equation. But I just don't think today we should make it a requirement through the action we're taking at this time to include it in the bond measure language. I think we should work on that match and the requirements of that match subsequent to today. But I do firmly support the direction you want to go in. I just don't think it should be part of the bond language.
I similar. Support the direction as well.
Do you want me to say that?
Well, can I just make, I'll try it then. I'm just going to make a motion that we, on 62.
Supervisor Chair?
Yeah.
Could I just clarify one thing before you make the motion? That language is not part of the bond measure. So the documents, the changes that Supervisor Carson is recommending are not changes to the bond measure language.
And the staff's going to have to come back to us on the policies on the match anyway, right? This is not included here.
Right.
The exact requirements of that. Okay, so I'm just going to move 63.2 with the amendment of page 12 to say that the 2020 program is required.
Second motion.
Moved by Vice President Chan, seconded by Supervisor Valier. I'm going to go ahead. I'm not particularly happy right now, but I'll go ahead because I don't want to be the one that votes against it. But is there any objection to the motion? Motion passes without objection. Okay. All right. Move to item 11. Item 11.
Item 11 is a second reading of an ordinance related to your new health care for the Homeless Commission.
The title of the ordinance, an ordinance adding Chapter 2.124 to Title 2 of the Alameda County Administrative Ordinance Code to establish the Alameda County Health Care for Homeless Commission.
Move that I balance of the full second reading, move adoption of the ordinance.
Moved by Miley, seconded by Chan. Moved with the balance of the full second reading of the ordinance. Move for its adoption. Is there an objection motion? Motion passes 4 ayes, 1 excused.
Item 31 is a second reading of a salary ordinance.
I'm sorry. What happened to 21.1?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to do the ordinance.
21.1.
Item 21.1 is a recommendation from Supervisor Carson that was discussed as part of your budget deliberations. It is a recommendation that your board adopt a policy that 50% of the prior year's final AB 109 base allocation be designated to fund only community-based providers, nonprofits, and CBO-led partnerships serving the reentry population in Alameda County, as well as for the Transition Center Community Capacity Fund and Innovation in Reentry Program. It also directs the Chief Probation Officer as the chair of the Community Corrections Partnership Executive Committee to work with other county departments and the Community Advisory Board to develop an implementation plan and timeline with regard to the CBO designation, and for the auditor and county administrator to be authorized to make any appropriate adjustments if necessary. In the body of the letter, it also indicates that within 90 days of the passage of this action, if your board so proceeds, that the CCP Executive Committee would convene a workshop to discuss the 50% designation funds that were allocated in fiscal 2015-16 and subsequently present that to the board at a workshop. There's no impact on net county costs, as the 50% designation would be funded within the AB 109 funds that are included in the final budget that will be before your board later this afternoon.
Yeah, Supervisor Miley.
Yeah, I just want to, because the county administrator didn't state this, but I thought from the budget discussion and adoption that we also said that we define CBOs as 501c3s. So that wouldn't prohibit, for instance, the Deputy Sheriff's Activities League from being considered a community-based organization.
So perhaps I didn't read into the record the recommendation. The policy states to fund only community-based providers, nonprofits, and the addition in the revised letter was and CBO-led partnerships. So nonprofits is included.
Yeah, and CBOs are 501c3s.
Well,
generally, that's correct.
Okay. I have some speakers on this. Askari Amin. After that, Janelle Mahoney's.
Hi, how you doing, President?
Hi, how are you?
Good. Thank you guys for having me today. We've been working really diligently on this subject, and I'm what AB 109 looks like. Standing before you, I'm a lifetime resident of Alameda County, born and raised in Oakland. I've been through the juvenile justice system, and today I don't want to sound like I'm upset or angry, but I am frustrated because I've worked very hard to get where I'm at so far as just working 3 or 4 jobs. I graduated from Cypress Mandela Training Center, and it gave me the tenacity and the desire to want to do different. I was a survivor of the community, Sabrani Park, and that's one of the hardest communities to survive from in Oakland. At present, I work at Safeway. I've been there 17 years. I'm a part of OCO as well as Pico, California. We just left Los Angeles. We had a group of meetings with some people in regards to realignment and AB 109 and how it should look, and it doesn't have a face. It doesn't have a figure. But one thing that it does is it affects all of us, because I know somebody in this room, family is incarcerated, been incarcerated, and it's going to come back to the community. I remember 20 years ago when I stepped out of California Youth Authority, and I didn't have a job. I didn't have a lot of direction. I could have went back to the streets and, step back into that arena, but I chose a different route, and I'm proud of the route that I chose. Passing this legislation will help people like myself to be positive. It'll improve our communities, and it also will help our children, which is most affected by people not being in the fathers not being in the homes, the mothers raising the kids by themselves, the grandmothers raising the children by themselves. And one thing that I have to share with you guys, my niece just got murdered about 2 or 3 blocks away from here, Reginae Jeffries. And I'm quite sure you guys heard about it. They still haven't found the killer yet. I talked to her mom about 4 hours ago over the telephone, and she was in tears because when I got up to Highland Hospital, I heard all of those wails from some of those young girls that was up there, and it affected me to the point where I couldn't even go up to the floor to talk to the mom. I missed the funeral because I had to work at 6 o'clock that morning, but it's something that's going to affect us as a community. I remember the president of the city council's nephew or something just got murdered 6 months ago. So if we ignore this problem, the dust is going to continue to grow, and it's not going to go away easily. So if it don't affect you, then somebody that you know it will affect. So hopefully you guys, listen to some of the language. I appreciate the supervisors who came out to our meeting at Imani Community Church and listened. And for the ones that didn't come, we appreciate you even listening. We appreciate the good works that you guys do in the county level. I know Linda is a furious fighter, and as far as the homeless situation, that ties in with the jobless situation. So by you guys listening and passing this bill today, it will be very, very instrumental in us progressing as a community, as well as other parts of the United States who look to Alameda County as well as Oakland as a vehicle of change, an operation of change. So with that said, I appreciate you guys listening. Thanks for your time. You guys have a good day.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Janelle Mahoney's.
Kamani Homes.
Huh?
You have Kamani Homes as well.
I do. I'm going to call that next.
And then I'll
Sure, go ahead. And then Amir Amama.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
My name is Kamani Holmes. I'm a 22-year-old. I'm currently on parole. I'm directly affected by these 1,400 jobs, and my community and my family is as well. Currently, I'm the CEO and founder of a magazine called The Reentry Guide, which is a magazine for inmates to directly impact them and improve their chances and their success rate and help them re-enter society successfully. I feel like these 1,400 jobs, it's imperative that we get these jobs for our community due to the fact that our youth, our teenagers, they are our future, and without these jobs available for them, what does our future hold? Our future doesn't hold anything if our youth can't continue to maintain a job to continue to help humanity go on. I feel like these are some of the people that are directly affected, who have had some of the problems in high school obtaining an education, but they still want to make an effort to acquire some type of sustainability and some type of employment to continue to take care of their family without having to put their safety or their freedom at risk. So that's why I feel it's imperative that we get to these 1,400 jobs.
Okay, I've made a mistake, and I apologize. You're gonna get a chance to speak again.
Okay.
Because I'm calling the speakers on the wrong item.
Okay.
So we're on 21.1. So, and I'm calling you on 21.2. So I'm gonna let all you speak again.
Okay.
Let me get past, can I get a motion on 21.1? Or
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any objection to the motion on 21.1 as it was amended? Do you have a problem, Counselor? You're just going for a walk. Do you have a problem? What? I decided I would. Okay. Okay, so my motion passes 4 ayes, 1 excuse, Supervisor Chan. All right, 21.2. Is there a presentation on 21.2?
I can read into the record if there's not a presentation. 21.2 is a letter from Supervisors Carson and Supervisor Valle that was also discussed at your budget deliberations on Friday. It's regarding a proposed Alameda County re-entry hiring program. The recommendation is that the Human Resource Services Department of Alameda County be directed to develop and implement a hiring program. It would focus on individuals who have had contact with the criminal justice system. It would be built upon the county's existing reentry workforce development and training programs currently used by the probation department's employment and training contracts. The program would be developed by Human Resources in partnership with all county departments as well as community partners. And the request is that in 3 months or by the end of September, the Human Resources Department report back to the Board of Supervisors with a proposed program and accounting of available jobs in the administrative structure proposed for such a program, and that in 6 months or by the end of December, if your board proceeds, the Human Resource Services would have a program in place that had been approved by your board and be prepared to admit the first program participants. Again, with regard to financing, there is no increase in net county cost, as the proposed new program would be funded within appropriations that will be included in your final 2016-17 budget that will be before you later this afternoon.
Okay, are we on public comment now? Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. Askiri Amin?
I apologize, Supervisor Chan, and I appreciate you sending the staff out to our town hall at Imani Church. But my name is Askari Amin. I'm a board member of OCO as well as leader at Pico, California. I'm a lifetime resident of Alameda County, born and raised in Oakland and Sobrani Park. As I was saying before you was absent, that my sting in California Youth Authority had taught me a lot. And I come to some council meetings and I hear a lot of people sound angry, but today I don't want to be the voice of anger. I want to be the voice of reasoning and rationalization, because I think together that we can work out and solve this problem with just transparency and understanding about that everybody that was a criminal won't always be a criminal. Everybody that had a little rough spot, sometimes you just got to wipe your knees off and pick up the pieces and keep on trucking. And that's what I did when I graduated from Cypress Wilson Mandela Training Center with the Shanks brothers and Mr. Hodges. With the direction of them, I just needed a little bit of support. I wasn't raised without a father. I had a father in my life. My father served in Vietnam. He's a graduate of Castlemont High School as well as myself. But I just took the initiative to go down to Cypress Wilson Mandela Training Center and use the vehicles and the instruments that they gave me to obtain a union job. And I walked in Safeway one time 7 years ago, didn't know I was going to get hired. I met a wonderful lady by the name of Doreen who hired me as a cook in the food service. I was in the deli. I worked 2 years in the deli real hard, and I seen myself progressing, getting up in the ranks, and I said, I'm going to keep this job as well as I was working at Job Corps and I was doing construction at the same time. But all of that is said just to say that us as a county, we should be innovative, because our heartbeat and our leadership in the United States of America is felt throughout the United States here in Oakland. So what we do here, it goes above and beyond the county lines of Alameda County and all the surrounding counties. But you guys passing this bill, it will help people like myself to get past poverty, crime, homelessness. Implementing the jobs will allow them a means to provide for their families and to be sustainable and be present in their kids' life. I have an 8-year-old son as well as a 2-year-old grandson that depend highly on me just for my leadership, as well as other people like Kamani, and as well as other brother and leaders that's in the federations that I'm a part of. They looked at me as an example of change and just redirecting my energy in a positive way. So with this all said, I would appreciate you guys to consider passing the 1,400 jobs for freedom. Thank you.
Thank you. Danielle Mahoney.
Thank you. I'm going to ask for Justice Reinvestment Coalition partners who are in the room to please stand up. It's a little lonely up here. We've done a lot of work together. Martin Luther King once said, "The time is always right to do what's right." And I want to thank you for what you're doing today. So I want to thank Supervisor Carson, Supervisor Valle, Supervisor Chan, Supervisor Miley, Supervisor Haggerty, wherever you are. I want to thank the staffers who work for you, who've been working with us so hard. Amy, thank you. Cynthia, Chris, Josh, Dave Brown, Stephen. Thank you all for taking time and meeting with us about this really critical problem that's facing our county. We have an overwhelming number of people who've been touched by the criminal justice system, and we have an overwhelming number of employers who refuse to give these folks a chance. And what you're doing today is going to not only impact those folks, but it's going to send a strong message that's going to resonate beyond this county, beyond the public sector, and it's going to help change the hearts and minds of employers to actually give folks a fighting chance. I want to say that I think that what I've learned through this work, working side by side with the folks that are here, is that a lot of employers actually miss out on talented, skilled, committed, passionate people. And so by you taking this action today, you're actually extending your hands, you're opening your arms, and you're giving folks a place to land. We have amazing job training programs that exist to serve this population, and the missing piece is the job placement, and not just in temporary jobs, but in long-term jobs, in good jobs, where folks have good wages, where they have benefits, where they have union representation. And so we're just so excited to continue this partnership. We know that today is the beginning of a lot more work, and we're ready. Our sleeves are rolled up to continue this work and to work now with human resources and other department staff to make sure that we implement the pieces that are going to make this successful. And I just want to highlight, I'm sorry, I'm over time, but just really quick. The fact that this is not just about putting people in jobs, but it's also about ensuring that there's mentorship, that there's training, that there's support for people to be successful in the jobs, that there's court advocacy. This is so important what we're doing together. So I wanted to name that. And then one minor thing I wanted to just acknowledge, because there's been so much back and forth, but we talked about with the probation department and all of the employment programs that you contract out to being a feeder to this program, and that's wonderful. We also just want to acknowledge that there are also other community-based organizations that have great training programs that don't take county funds that should also be a feeder to this program. So just wanted to say that, and above all, thank you.
Thank you. So that's it for the speakers. Oh, go ahead, come on down.
How you guys doing again? My name is Kamani Holmes. So kind of reiterating what I said earlier, it's very imperative that we get these jobs. We're all aware of the different organizations available in the community that offer job skills, job readiness, life skill classes, help us prepare resumes, but what good are they if we don't have any jobs to back them up or help us put these skills to use? I feel like this is a main opportunity to help us rebuild Oakland, especially to what it used to be without all of the violence, without all of the crime, with us representing unity and family and solidarity, and us genuinely caring about our community and wanting to give back and take care of our families. So if you guys will pass these 1,400 jobs for us, then we can definitely step up and be the epitome of what we're trying to be.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody else wish to speak on this item? Okay, thank you. With that, I'll bring it back to the board for deliberation and action. Any questions?
I'd like to move the item.
Okay, motion by Valier, seconded by Carson.
I just wanted to clarify, which I did not read in as part of the staff report, that while the target is for 1,400 jobs and the program would be developed by the county's Human Resource Services, it's clear that the program design would be to enter into MOUs with other public agencies to participate and provide jobs as well, including the Alameda Health Systems, East Bay MUD, the Public Utilities Commission, and a number of others. So I just wanted to be clear that it's a more comprehensive program in terms of job placements.
I also thought it got out to the public or the private sector too. It doesn't?
Yeah, it does.
So it's the private sector's involved too?
Yeah. We,
All right.
we have East Bay EDA that should be a part, that is a part of this.
Okay, and so, and just so I'm clear, what we're voting on is just, today is asking them to go develop a program, isn't that correct? Okay, because I do have questions about civil service and
And to report back in 3 months with the proposed program design.
testing and all that, so I have a lot of questions, but I'll wait until I see the program. Any objection to the motion? Motion passes 5 ayes. Supervisor Chan.
Can I add on as a yes vote to 21.1? Thank you.
Item 32. Item 32, please. Please, we have a lot of work to still do. Please, please. Item 32.
31?
Huh?
I think we hadn't completed 31, which is the second reading of a salary ordinance amendment.
Item 31. Oh, okay.
Title of the ordinance, an ordinance amending certain provisions of the 2015-2016 Alameda County Salary Ordinance.
Move the way the balance of the full second reading, move adoption of the ordinance.
Thank you. A motion by Miley, seconded by Valier, to move away the balance of the full second reading of the ordinance, move for its adoption. Is there objection? Motion passed. Please be quiet. Motion passed without objection. Item 32.
Item 32 is also the second reading of a salary ordinance amendment.
An ordinance amending certain provisions of the 2015-2016 Alameda County Salary Ordinance.
Move the way the balance of the full second reading, move adoption of the ordinance.
Thank you. I have a motion by Miley, seconded by Valier, to move away the balance of the full second reading of the ordinance and move for its adoption. Is there any objection to the motion? Motion passed without objection. Item 33.
Item 33 is the first reading of a salary ordinance amendment establishing a new classification in the Healthcare Services Agency.
An ordinance amending certain provisions of the 2015-2016 Alameda County Salary Ordinance.
Move the way the balance of the full first reading, move adoption.
Second.
I have a motion, moved away the balance of the full first reading of the ordinance and move for its adoption. Is there any objection to the motion? Motion passed without objection. Item.
Item 34 is the first reading of an ordinance with regard to an MOU through June 26th of 2021 with Local 21 PACE in the Social Services Agency.
The first ordinance is an ordinance approving September the 13th, 2015 through June the 26th, 2021 Memorandum of Understanding with the Professional Association of County Employees PACE, IFPTE, Local 21.
Move the way the balance of the full first reading, move adoption of the ordinance.
Second.
I have a motion by Miley, seconded by Valier, to move away the balance of the full first reading of its ordinance and move for its adoption. Is there any objection to the motion? Motion passes without
There's a
objection.
second ordinance. An ordinance amending certain provisions of the 2015-2016 Alameda County Salary Ordinance.
Move the way the balance of the full first reading, move adoption.
You want to do the side letters too? You want to do C and D too?
If I
You can.
move the side letters,
We can do that. Let's go.
move the side letters.
Second.
Part of the motion.
Thank you. So I have a motion to move away the balance of the full first reading of the ordinance and move for its adoption. Also to move to amend the salary ordinance in section 3.8.25, footnote provisions of the Social Service Agency and adopt the side letters of agreement. Is there any objection to the motion? Motion passes without objection. Item 35.
Item 35 is the first reading of an ordinance amending an MOU with SEIU Local 1021.
An ordinance amending Appendix A of the December 21st, 2015 through December the 14th, 2019 Memorandum of Understanding between the Northern California Public Sector Region Local 1021 of the Service Employees International Union, Change to Win, in the County of Alameda.
Move the way the first reading of the ordinance and move adoption.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion to waive the balance of the full first reading of the ordinance, move for its adoption. Is there any objection to the motion? Motion passes 5 ayes. Item 36.
Item 36 is the first reading of an ordinance amending the MOU between the Alameda County Management Employees Association General Government Unit and the county with regard to a position in Zone 7.
An ordinance amending December the 23rd, 2012 through April the 8th, 2017
Memorandum of Understanding with the Alameda County Management Employees Association General Government Unit.
Move to waive the full first reading of the ordinance. Move adoption.
Second.
Thank you. A motion by Miley, seconded by Valier to move to waive the balance of the full first reading of the ordinance and move for its adoption. Is there any objection to the motion? Motion passed without objection. Item 40.
Item 40 is a recommendation that your board adopt an ordinance amending an administrative code as well as juvenile fee schedules for probation and the public defender to repeal all juvenile fees. Your board will recall that you considered this matter on March 29th. You passed a resolution. You directed my office, the auditor controller, the chief probation officer, and the public defender to immediately suspend collection and assessment of juvenile probation fees. That occurred immediately in terms of placing a moratorium, refunding fees, and no longer assessing fees. You also directed that we report back to provide an estimate of the impact of the repeal of the fees, as well as implementing an ordinance to actually repeal fees going forward. So we've worked with all of the departments. The repeal of the fees represents a loss of revenue of about $500,000. That revenue is collected in several departments. It was not included in your maintenance of effort budget and therefore became part of the $72 million funding gap and was ultimately offset by general funds. We did not reduce the appropriations in the department, so again, it was replaced with general funds, and the appropriations for any spending authority related to that revenue still remains in the departments. The breakdown of revenue is included, and as I mentioned, it's about $500,000. There's also $2 million in outstanding fees that have been assessed back to 2009 that will be uncollected. So the recommendation before you today is that you adopt an ordinance as well as amend resolutions in order to fully repeal the juvenile probation fees.
Thank you. Jeff Selvin.
President Haggerty, Supervisors, good afternoon. My name is Jeff Selvin. I direct the Policy Advocacy Clinic at the law school up at Berkeley. I'm also a county resident. Just three quick things. First, I want to commend the staff in all the departments that were just mentioned for working so closely with us on this, and also your staff members who were terrific over the last 6 or 8 months. I want to say on behalf of families who we've heard from repeatedly since you adopted the moratorium, this is making a huge difference in people's lives so that they can get on to the hard business of working with their kids and getting them on the straight and narrow path. And finally, I want to commend you for your leadership on this issue. You're the first county, if you take this action, to repeal these fees in the state. But Santa Clara County last Tuesday imposed a similar moratorium based on following your lead, and actually they have a full repeal and are supposed to have a full repeal by October. So again, thank you for taking this action. I'm happy to answer any questions if it would be helpful.
Thank you. Go ahead.
An ordinance amending section 2.42.190 of the Administrative Ordinance Code to repeal juvenile probation fees, amending resolution number 2011-142 to repeal the public defender fee for representation of juveniles, and amending resolution number 2009-468 to repeal the probation department's juvenile supervision, juvenile electronic and global positioning system monitoring, and juvenile drug and substance abuse testing fees.
Move to waive the balance of the reading of the ordinance. Move for adoption.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion to move away the balance of the full first reading of this ordinance. Move for its adoption. Seconded by Supervisor Valier, seconded by Supervisor Carson. Is there any objection to that motion? Motion passes 5 ayes. Item 56.
You need to also adopt the resolutions.
There are 2 amendments to resolutions.
We're going to do that next week. Okay, go ahead.
Move the resolution.
The 2 resolutions.
There's 2 resolutions, B and C, I think.
B and C.
Yeah, B and C.
B and C.
Second.
So, motion to move items B and C. Moved by Valier, seconded by Supervisor Carson. Any objection to the motion? Motion passes 5 ayes. Item 56.
Item 56 is a request for your board to adopt and approve a proposed resolution establishing temporary closure of a portion of Calaveras Road starting the summer of 2016 and extending for 18 months into 2017 as a means necessary for the construction of the dam replacement project as part of the Water System Improvement Program, and direct the Director of Public Works of Alameda County to allow San Francisco Public Utilities Commission and its designees to post the necessary road closures and detour signs and barricades under the direction of the Sheriff Department or California Highway Patrol. This item was presented to the Transportation and Planning Committee of your board, and several suggestions were made, and those items were incorporated into the resolution with a minor modification. I believe that the council will be making minor edits at this time.
So with respect to the resolution that you received in your packets, the request before you now is to approve the resolution with the amendments that I will read. The purpose for these amendments is that direction was given to put a condition on the permit that San Francisco Public Utilities Commission would negotiate an MOU with the sheriff. After further investigation, it was determined that San Francisco PUC has an arrangement with the California Highway Patrol to provide the services at issue, and that the sheriff would not be negotiating an MOU. So the request before you is to approve the resolution with the following amendments. If you look at what is probably at page 2 of the draft resolution, there are 4 bulleted items. The third bullet should be deleted and replaced with the following language. SFPUC shall maintain in effect its construction zone enhancement enforcement program agreement for contract services with the California Highway Patrol, and SFPUC shall implement that agreement in a manner that ensures effective traffic management, including but not limited to the use of appropriate measures to address work crew and motorist safety concerns, provide traffic control procedures, and manage traffic delays. And additionally, we would delete under the actual resolutions that your board would make, there are 2 be it resolved paragraphs. If we would delete the second paragraph that begins be it further resolved. And with respect to the first now therefore be it resolved paragraph, we would delete the word and at the end of that paragraph. And again, those deletions are necessary because the sheriff will not be negotiating an MOU with SFPUC because the CHP will provide those services.
Okay. And then all the other stuff that the Transportation and Planning Committee talked about will happen. That's incorporated in the resolution, and most of those items are currently underway, and SFPUC has been negotiating with all the media groups as well as the regulatory folks to allow us to make sure that we implement the environmental fencing as coordinated with both federal and state regulatory folks under the direction of Public Works.
Mike Mullich, Stephen Ritchie. If you guys didn't talk in support, you probably would have been out of here at 9:35 or 10:30.
Thank you, President Haggerty, board members. I just want to thank you for timely consideration of this matter. It has been a long day, but we've been working very closely with Daniel and his staff on that, and very much appreciate that working relationship we've got going there. So thank you for your consideration.
Anybody else? Okay. All right, with that, bring it back to the board for deliberation action.
Move the item.
We'd ask that you move the item as amended.
As amended.
Moved by Valier. Seconded by Miley. Any objection to the motion? Motion passes 5 ayes. I guess we're going back to closed session. Okay. We already did public comment. Anybody else want to do public comment? Oh, you do? Okay, we already did it, but I'm going to let you come on down. You got 2 minutes. That's what I gave for public comment earlier.
I will be even briefer, but I appreciate the opportunity.
How you doing?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
Good.
Good afternoon. I'm President Haggerty and members of the Board of Supervisors, Delvecchio Finley, CEO of Alameda Health System. Just here really on behalf of our board and our organization, and most importantly, the people we jointly serve, to say on behalf of Alameda Healthcare System, we really I've been here 10 months now, as in a couple of days, and I really wanted to just take the opportunity to thank you, members of the board, the county leadership under CAO Miranishi and members of the Healthcare Services Agency under Rebecca Gephardt and team for all of your collaboration this year. It's been incredibly instrumental in the success that we have achieved thus far. Certainly got a long way to go, but I feel reassured with the partnership that we have and just want to thank you. I know it's a long day for you, but I figured it was important to do that and really appreciate the opportunity to do so.
DeVecchio, I want to say that I went out and met with Nancy Farber the other day at Washington Hospital, and she's not an easy lady to please, but she says a lot of nice things about you, so thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I try my best.
Yeah, huh?
I said I try my best.
Yeah, no, she really is encouraged by the collaboration that could be happening in the future, so thank you. I appreciate that.
And actually, if I could quickly thank your staffs as well. They've been wonderful, and it's been really great to work with all of you, so look forward to more years.
Thank you. Okay, and then it is with great sadness that I've let everybody know that we lost a county employee, Peggy Watson, who's a principal librarian for the Fremont Libraries. We were informed today that Peggy Watson passed away on Sunday morning. Peggy was a librarian for over 30 years and a valued member of the Alameda County Library for 15 years. Her death has shocked all of us and will be missed by her friends and colleagues, not only here at the Alameda County Library System, but all over the Bay Area. So please join me in mourning the passing of Peggy Watson. Thank you all. We are going to close session.